Dan, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're going to call the Planning, Environment, and Development Committee meeting of March 3rd, 2026 to order. We'll do a roll call. Everyone is here but Jim and Dina. Dina is not going to be or call in this morning. She's got other things going on, and Jim is running late. So, minutes approval.
Move to approve.
Moved by Joe, seconded by Carl. Any comments regarding the minutes approval? Okay, no comments. We'll go to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Public comment? We have any public comments, Scott?
We have none. Last call. Alex?
Okay, no public comment. Members' comments? No members' comments? Okay, we'll move on to new business, which is the presentation by the McHenry County Conservation District for their fiscal year 27 budget presentation, presented by Elizabeth Kessler, McHenry County Conservation District Executive Director.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Andy, want to join me as well?
Yeah, please come
Where would you
forward.
like us to sit? Can I sit
Anywhere you want. Yeah, pull a chair out, move a chair around the corner if you want. We don't care.
Here.
Wherever you're comfortable.
Okay, this feels right. Wonderful. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Chairman Smith, Vice Chair Campbell, and distinguished members of the Planning, Environment, and Development Committee. We are honored to be here this morning to present our fiscal year 2027 budget. And just so I can introduce the team, because we're well represented this morning, Andy Dilek is our Director of Administration and Finance. Been with the district for a long time and does an amazing job, and so great to have him with us, at least as long as I've been at the district. Andy's been right there to keep things in good place. And you're going to hear the wonderful story that we have to tell this morning. Our board president, Lloyd Everard, and Bonnie Leahy, also on our board of trustees, and then our executive staff with me. We've got John Kramer, our Director of Operations Planning and Public Safety, Gabe Powers, who is our Director of Land Preservation and Natural Resources, and Caitlin Martinez-McWhorter, who is our Director of Marketing and Education. And in the last 2 years, we've had promotions from within on our executive team. So John, Andy, and myself have been with the district for quite some time, and then we've elevated Gabe Powers and Caitlin to our executive team, which is wonderful to have. So developing our leaders from within. All right, so I just want to go over briefly. Many of you have been here before, so I will be respectful of your time and kind of hit the highlights. So if I go too fast, please tell me to slow down. But there may be others at home that are listening to this meeting that are not familiar with us, and so I want to be attentive to them as well. As you are aware, you appoint our Board of Trustees under the Conservation District Act, and we have 7 amazing volunteers that serve with no pay. They serve for 5 years, and then they must roll off per our statute. And so you just recently reappointed Nora Lee Zeller. She was an exception. She replaced an unexpired term of a trustee, and so that reappointment, so she is eligible to serve a consecutive term. But we're grateful for all the knowledge that they bring. They represent the county in various disciplines and experiences, and really ensure that, again, they keep a great fiduciary duty to the residents of the county as ensuring that we're operating very effectively. We've introduced our executive leadership team, and our leadership team then oversees a variety of team members in various departments. This is difficult to read, but it is in your budget book. But we have 4 divisions within the district, and you met our executive team. Each of them lead their staffing, whether it be administrative, finance, and technology, to our planning team that works on the built environment, to our operations team that maintains the sites so that they can be visited by our guests in good working order and for that guest experience. So really they do an amazing job. Our law enforcement team that ensures our areas are safe and secure so our guests can visit. And then the amazing job of our marketing and education team that provide programs in the schools, programs at our visitor centers. Actually, we have our Festival of the Sugar Maples that is beginning this weekend at Coral Woods, a very popular program. And with, if everybody saw the red moon this morning, did you get up early to see that? Also known by the indigenous tribes of the Ojibwe and Chippewa as a moon of the crust of the winter moon with the thaw and unthawing of the snow moon that would thaw. So we make good maple syrup if we have that frost and unfrost. And then we have, who am I missing here? Our natural resources team that takes care of our plants and animals. It ensures that our areas are healthy and restored. And then, of course, at the bottom here on the chart, you have our foundation, our director of philanthropy, who works and appoints. They have a board as well that is appointed by our board, similar to how the county board appoints the trustees. And then I report to the board of trustees. And of course, our overall, beyond the trustees, is the residents of the county who ensure that we're all doing our jobs. All right, our mission, and we've been around since 1971, and we were founded through a countywide referendum, and our vision is clear. It's to protect open spaces, preserve vital wildlife habitat, and create opportunities for environmental education and outdoor recreation, and we're committed to ensuring that McHenry County's public lands, water, and wildlife continue to thrive while creating opportunities for people of all ages and backgrounds to connect with nature through recreation, education, and conservation efforts. Today, the McHenry County Conservation District safeguards over 25,800 acres of natural spaces, welcomes more than 1.2 million visitors annually, and holds the responsibility of ensuring that our rich landscapes, wildlife habitat, and outdoor spaces are preserved for future generations. Our natural areas are essential to maintaining clean drinking water, providing healthy habitat for a wide array of plant and animal species, and connecting residents and visitors to nature's wonders, enriching lives through memorable, close-to-home experiences and outdoor recreational opportunities that are accessible to everyone. Our focus and promise are to restore these public lands to optimal health by maintaining and enhancing existing conservation areas and trails for public enjoyment. Here's a diagram. This is also in your budget of the district's holdings that has that 25,800 acres. And the district, the physical and mental health benefits of spending time outdoors are well documented. We have 35 sites that are open to the public and over 150 miles of trails where you can experience some amazing outdoor recreational activities close to home. We truly have something for everyone. But beyond the human experience, the Conservation District plays an irreplaceable role in protecting native plant and animal species that rely on preserved habitats to thrive. Native oak savannas offer sanctuary to woodland critters and migratory birds, while prairies support the region's rarest wildflowers and pollinators. And through our restoration and maintenance efforts, countless species, many which are endangered or at risk, are given a fighting chance to flourish in their natural environments. And this holistic approach not only enhances the richness of McHenry County's biodiversity, but also reinforces the interconnections between the natural landscapes and our community's health and well-being. Now, this past year, there were several highlights I just want to bring attention to that we're really proud of. You may have read in the news or our communication, we protected a 55-acre old-growth forest with a $360,000 grant from the Prairie State Conservation Coalition and a 20% match that was made possible through the McHenry County Conservation Foundation. So no taxpayer dollars were able to acquire a really critical piece of habitat that could have been lost to development. And protecting those natural areas, particularly those blocks of remnant oaks or hickories, are vital and part of our mission. The High Point Conservation Area also, through the Chicago Wilderness Alliance, received platinum accreditation status. This is a vigorous process to go through to ensure there's levels similar to LEED certification, but the platinum level means that the area has been restored to the highest ecological value and is kept, and that's something to be very proud of. And the district has received numerous platinum accreditations for our restoration efforts. And then you may have also heard the district successfully translocated the molted sculpin. It's a small state threatened freshwater fish species with the limited ability to move into new areas by man-made structures, culverts, or dams. And this was the first project in Illinois and the second in the nation. And so working with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, when the district goes in and does ecological restoration, we can bring things back to health, and then we can reintroduce the species that were once there. So that's a great takeaway. The district also has many award-winning programs as far as connecting with the community, and one, this is our third year this past year, is Find Your Wild. The stickers that I placed in front of you are from that popular program, and this allows individuals of all ages, families, to get outdoors and enjoy their conservation areas. We had more than 1,000 participants in the program, almost 9,000 photo missions, meaning that they're out taking photos, active, enjoying lots of smiles on Conservation District lands that we're able to utilize in our communication, but it's really more importantly building how families are building that connection to the natural world. We also, the Great Outdoor Beer Trail that we hold in the fall at Felpro RRR, another alternative, but again, an educational program and a recreational program to educate, where we bring in about 20 regional breweries and again, get individuals outdoors and experience it. Again, part of that, like naturally McHenry County, of bringing and showcasing why McHenry County is such a wonderful place to come visit and to have a family and potentially work. We also received first place in our agency showcase at the state conference, best in class for our digital marketing. And our digital marketing, this was something that our marketing team put together, understanding the costs of producing. You have our landscapes in front of you, which is our print brochure that we do 4 times a year. And we've actually gone through to save funding by reducing the number of copies or pages in the print, obviously the material to which it's printed on, but using digital marketing, we've been able to expand our reach, and it's working very effectively. So really proud of that. All right, enough telling you all the great things. I could go on for hours and hours and hours to tell you all the phenomenal things that our staff and board work on, and that's one of my jobs as the executive director, is to be their cheerleader and promoter, and I couldn't be proud to say that we've got the best in the state, not only maybe the best in the nation. But we're here to present our annual budget for you, and our budget begins on April 1st and ends on March 31st. That's our fiscal year, and our budget was adopted by Board of Trustees through Ordinance 26-1068 during our regular meeting on February 24th, following a public hearing that was held on February 19th. The district has and continues to receive many financial awards as well through the Government Finance Officers Association, the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. Again, we've continued every year that we've submitted for that award. We have received that. We also received the Accounting Finance Audit Award as well for financial reporting. So we've received that as well. Where we are on the budget trail and where we are today here. So we set our budget goals. We pass our levy in September, which is required by statute. We build our tentative budget, which is presented to our board. So we're working on it all the way through the summer, through our process of evaluating everything with our staff. We present the tentative in January, hold a public hearing in February, and then it's approved by our board, and then we're here in front of you. It needs to come through planning and environment, and then on to the county to be considered adopted. Again, we have a 2-step process. We're the only conservation district in the state of Illinois that has that process, and that was done statutorily because of our request to increase our indebtedness level. So that is where we're here. So our budget is not necessarily effective and adopted until the county board accepts that. And this just highlights where we are today and the rest of the journey that we have. All right, our funds. We have several funds that we operate as the county does. We have 3 of our levy funds, our general fund, our debt service, and our insurance fund. We're primarily going to talk about the general fund because that's our operating fund, and most of the efforts that we put forth and how we operate from year to year is related to that. Our debt service is what was approved by the voters, and we've got good news, and we'll continue to tout that the good news is coming. This is the last levy in 2025, and then our debt service will be 100% paid off, and that's an amazing feat, and I've done a lot with that, a lot of hard work to make that happen. And then our insurance fund is our tort liability fund. That's our risk management. Okay, and that's required. All the other funds that the district operates from are dedicated accounts for capital, our capital asset management plan that we call our CAMP program, our natural resources special revenue fund, are funds that we are either receiving grants, donations, or we're transferring money from the general fund into those funds to make them work, particularly to do the capital work that the district needs to do. All right, so this is in your book. This is on page 22 of the district's budget. It's page 40, I believe, that was in your book. Total revenues of $31 million for all funds. This represents an increase of $287,410, or 0.9% from the fiscal year 2026 adopted budget. And under the Conservation District Act, the general corporate fund levy is limited to 0.1% of the county's EAV. For our expenses, which is on page 22, it's just below, again on page 40, total expenses of $31.7 million for all funds for fiscal year 2027, and this represents a decrease of $487,000, or 1.5% decrease from the 2026 adopted budget. On page 23 or page 41 of the county's packet, we have a change in fund balance. There's an interfund transfer of $950,000. As we said before, our tax funding, we need to be able to move and we can transfer that. So we have funding go into the dedicated accounts, and which is $200,000, and then $750,000 being transferred from the general fund to our capital asset management plan to take care of capital projects. And at the end of 2027, there's an estimated fund balance after all of that at $101,746 in the general fund. So year after year, we've been purposely drawing down our fund reserves. We had our proposition, and this was key. The only way that we can fund our capital is coming through our general fund. And so we've moved the items over to take care of the necessary capital repairs and replacements that need to be done. All right, to go over, continue on the general fund. This is on page 30 or page 48 of your book. Of the district's revenue that comes into our general fund, 87.5% is through property taxes, 85.6% of regular property taxes, and then 1.9% through state personal property replacement taxes. The next biggest piece is the leases and license of district property. So this includes our farm lease revenue, as well as we have some cell towers, et cetera, some other types of leases that are on district property. And then that's followed by our program fees and charges at 2%. And then the others, more de minimis, the 1.2% on interest income, and then funding that comes through our foundation through philanthropy, and then other income, such as fixed assets, fines, citations, etc. Okay, we show this one every year. It shows year over year of the historical background of where the district has been. And our board has prioritized fiscal responsibility while balancing the need to maintain and care for our natural areas and outdoor recreational amenities. And despite the significant growth in land holdings and increasing operational demands over the last decade, the board has taken the full levy increase allowed under the property tax extension limitation law only 3 times from 2012 to 2024. And collectively, these efforts have saved McHenry County taxpayers more than $10.8 million since 2012, as illustrated in the schedule. You'll also see there's an addition of the debt service levy abatement that we did not take this year. We are abating that because of the property tax, the proposition. We abated that last year. We abated it again this year. And so ultimately, you get the total tax savings of $14.4 million. So that was our promise. Our promise when we had the proposition back in November 2024 with the limiting rate, which we will be able to realize. But at this point, the district has not been able to do anything with those funds because we made the promise that we would hold it flat until the debt was paid off. And so in November, the proposition allowed the district to raise its limiting rate under PTEL from 0.826% to 0.11% at the 2024 levy, which we did, but we abated. And this generated an additional $3.6 million in operational property tax revenues above and beyond what the $232,000 would have allowed otherwise under PTEL. So we abated that, and so we continue to operate with a no net tax increase from the proposition limiting rate. And the district has continued. We actually this year already have passed the abatement for this year at $3.77 million. So that was a $3.62 million plus the inflationary growth on the debt service levy. The neutral levies combined with the continued recovery of the county's EAV have driven the Conservation District's non-debt service property tax rate to its lowest in over a decade. And the good news is that with the district's referendum approved general obligation bonds will be retired with the 2025 levy, so 2026, we will be paying off that debt, and there'll be an estimated 40% overall reduction in what residents who pay taxes in McHenry County to the district. So that's a significant to celebrate. The county board should be celebrating it. Our board is celebrating that, and it puts the district in a very good position. The items on the ballot were about water quality protection, wildlife habitat preservation, as you recall, and then outdoor recreation access. And with all of that, one of the big initiatives that is currently underway is the Forward to 2040 plan with a vision to 2071. There's a postcard in front of you. We have hired a consulting firm similar to what the county had done for your comprehensive plan to create a comprehensive conservation plan for the district. 2040 is kind of the 10-year time frame. We just wrapped it to that because it made sense with where we were starting. That was the promise and the proposition to basically look at the areas that need the improvements, the deferred maintenance that we've had in our capital asset management plan, but to get feedback from the community on what is next and what would they like to see and help us prioritize. So we're doing that. The focus on the 2071, which seems so far out, that's the district's centennial. And so it's really important because conservation has a long-range look. You know, what we do today has a long-term impact for the future. And so we have to look over generations when we look at how we protect places, how we invest in those places, and that's why we have a framework that's taking us out to 2070. We don't want to be short-sighted in our planning. We do have a strategic plan. The strategic plan is a 5-year plan. We are going into the 4th year of that 5-year plan. And once we develop the comprehensive conservation plan, that of course will break down in smaller segments of strategic planning as we go forward. And we have 3 focus areas, and this is also in your budget book. A lot of information. We did change things up this year where you can see all of the initiatives and how they're aligning to the strategic plan on those investments, the accomplishments from the past year, as well as what our intent is to take care of those programs and activities for the upcoming year. So we have healthy landscapes, people, and wildlife. Second area is visitor experience, and the last is organizational excellence. Back to our general fund. I talked a little bit about this earlier, is our team, the personnel on staff and our volunteers is how we do the work that we do. We are, by managing landscapes, by interacting with the public, to ensuring that everyone is visiting sites that are kept up and healthy, it requires staff. We have 76 full-time team members. We have 3 full-time and 2 part-time that are out of our Natural Resource Special Revenue Fund, and then 9 part-timers, and then 35 seasonals, and approximately 400 plus volunteers that aid our staff in all areas of the county. Our collective bargaining, we have 2 bargaining groups with the district. Our Fraternal Order of Police, which is 10 police officers and 2 sergeants. We are currently under negotiations on their contract, which expires on March 31st of this year. And then we also have our Local 150, which is our operations and facilities team, and we have 17 employees within that bargaining group, and their contract expires on March 31st of 2028. Overall, for cost increases on staffing for the upcoming year is a 3% combined merit and economic adjustment. And then we have our insurance that we provide for our employees. Like the county, we're on the Intergovernmental Personal Benefit Cooperative, which has helped us to reduce the long-term costs of employee costs and stabilize that. We saw an increase of 16.1% for what we offer. We offer a PPO, a high deductible PPO, and then an HMO. The PPO for the high deductible came in at 7.6%. And this year, due to inflationary costs, we did offer a narrow network on the PPO plan, which then helped to reduce that to 9.65%. So employees are charged with the higher cost sharing, and again, we are very focused in doing the best that we can, both for our team as well as making sure that our budgets are that we manage. So our total insurance costs are budgeted to increase by $78,275,000 over the last fiscal year, or by 6.6%. And again, employee wellness programs, taking responsibility, keeping everybody active, as we know, is a great strategy for keeping those overall costs down. This is on page 8 of the district's budget, and it shows the total operational capacity of full-time equivalents, which means that that's full-time team members as well as part-time team members, whether they're regular part-time or whether they're seasonal employees. So if you have 2 seasonal employees or 2 part-time employees at 20 hours and 20 hours together, 40 hours, that's the equivalent of a full-time team member. So this is just showing that to the acreage that the district manages. It's relatively flat. These are small little fractions of hours when you look across. So it ultimately, we're doing a lot with the same team, and we're very proud of the team that we've been able to retain and grow over the years. Under the general fund, operational capacity is key. We have capital expenditures, and this is on page 40 or page 58 within the county's book. And the fiscal 2027 budget includes $424,775 of capital outlays, which is funded by the unrestricted general fund reserves. We talked about, and this is coming from the existing budget. This includes 16,000 expenditures that were budgeted last year that we were not able to implement, and that was the electric scooter for our law enforcement. We were looking for a matching grant, so we did not receive that, so we held that off, and again, trying to be prepared for that. And then by comparison, the capital expenditures of last year was $583,540. So, and this does not include, we have also budgeted $100,000 for unanticipated expenditures that, again, through board approval, we have available to us should we need that. This is very tiny, but it is on page 58 or page 40 of the district's budget. Again, it just shows operating revenue at $11.2 million, operating expenses out of the general fund at $11.8. Personnel makes 79% of the budget, and as we talked about being a service-driven organization, this is on track and meets that benchmark. Debt service, page 143, 145. We talked about this, 100% paid off with the 2025 property tax levy paid off in 2026. So we have, as of 3/31/2026, next we will have $15,855,000 total debt outstanding, and part of that is voter approved general obligation bonds at $13.4 million, and then outstanding debt certificates at $2.3 million, and that will all be paid off. Okay, so we talked about this already. Capital projects, I'm just going to highlight. These are the things that what's happening in your district that you may be of interest in. Open house on Wednesday, tomorrow night, from 5 to 7 at the college. Please join us. Through this process, there will be a statistically valid survey that will also be done through random sample by Acuity, which is part of the team. There will be an online ability for residents to provide comments into the work, as well as an opportunity once the plan is drafted to provide comment. We do have a technical advisory group with regional experts around the county that are assisting in reviewing the draft and helping us with the process, as well as many stakeholder groups. So this is big, and this is the big thrust for this year. The plan will be wrapped up, anticipated by February of next year. So by the time we're sitting in front of you next year, we should have a new plan, which is exciting. As far as capital projects for conservation, several things that are taking place. We have a continued effort to restore the Coon Creek area in the Kishwaukee watershed. We did receive a grant from a special project from U.S. Congressman Brad Schneider in the 10th District, and had a check presentation just a couple weeks ago. So that will help restore and help with flood reduction in the Queen Anne area. A hydrology project with Boulder Bog, and we're looking for funding for that to match these. Many of our conservation projects are leveraged through funding through our foundation or grants that we apply for, again, to leverage the resources that we have and stretch that dollar further. And then we're working on setting up a new mitigation bank in the Kishwaukee area. Again, we've had conversations with the Department of Transportation here because they're very excited to see that collaboration. It worked very well with School Springs, and so we're beginning that process. As far as sites and trails, the built environment, one of the big initiatives, again, working collaboratively with the county Division of Transportation, who is amazing to work with, as well as your planning and environment, all teams at the district, at the administration. There's just a lot of shared services that we're able to do because we work so well together. And then naturally McHenry County. One of them is regional trail branding for starting something that the district has wanted to do for a long time. That wayfinding, so as you're on the Prairie Trail, you're able to connect to the communities and their economy, and so we're in the process of creating all our final branding. There'll be a presentation that'll be made to our board this month, and then we'll be looking to adopt. The plan will be set, and then we'll be looking for funding to build out the signage and looking for partners to take it down the next step. Guide Studio has been doing that work, and it's been an amazing, amazing process. We received, again, working with the Department of Transportation here, funding for Phase 1-2 engineering for an overpass of the railroad, the Wisconsin Southern Line at Lang Road. If you've taken the Hebron Trail, there's a terminus, there's not a connection. And so this funding will provide that engineering. It was a $320,000 local project funding from IDOT. And so that'll get the study done. And then to build whatever they're going to design is probably about a $4 million project. So that's to come, and we'll be looking for some funding and hopefully some help to make that come to pass. But you've got to do the planning first and be ready with those shovel-ready projects to seek that funding. Other capital projects, we continue to make improvements along the Prairie Trail, which is our bicycle trail that runs from King County all the way to the Wisconsin line. We have regular repairs and replacements that are backlogged, so overlays of our parking lots at Brookdale, Marengo Ridge, and then Pleasant Valley is going to be done this next year. Removing of buildings that are there on the landscape, that's a cost, and those need to come down. So we've got the residents at the Hollows Conservation Area, where you came out this year and you saw the new openings there, but as you came into the park, there was a home. That's going to come down, so we can open that up. We don't need that residents there. Many of the homes that you see on district property were there when we acquired the property, and then they ended up being kind of ranger stations for a while, or they had a life estate. So by getting those out, once we can vacate them, we're taking them off the landscape and restoring it. And then bridges, we have a toll boardwalk at Boulder Bog, which is a floating pier that needs to be replaced. So that's on the deferred maintenance for this upcoming year. We're also doing just regular painting of exterior structures at Brookdale. We have window replacements. If you've been in our administrative buildings, we've got an old building, and those windows need to be replaced. Exterior stairs at the Prairie View Education Center, which is one of our areas where we have community come to participate in a lot of our programs and events. And then historical structures. We've got several buildings on the Conservation District's holdings. And so what we're doing currently is we put some money aside to help with the structural integrity, so that once we get through the comprehensive planning of what priorities they're going to land and how they're going to be, at least we'll be able to move forward. And then we've got Glacial Park, Powers Walker Home, which is one that the district has taken under. We've got to replace the roof there. So a lot of costs to take care of these sites. Last plug for the foundation. Again, they are so critical to the work that we do. They help us stretch our tax dollars and help us apply for many grants, and we're just grateful. They're really important to support our work for that. And I will stop there. I presented a lot of background, but answer any questions that you may have.
Anyone have any questions? Carl, go ahead.
Got a couple. One, I see that you want to spend 16 grand on an electric motorcycle. Why? Why electric? And what is the need for it?
Well, I'll talk to the need, and then John, I'll let you think with the electrical. I mean, the need, a lot of our trails, to be able to take off the regular road, we've got a lot of trails, so bicycle trails, so having access is very responsible and easy to get to where our users are, and to keep a watchful eye and to keep everyone safe. So it's another tool. As far as
What's the purpose of having an electric bike instead of going down to Harley and grabbing a used one at a fraction of the cost?
So we're looking for a grant, but let's.
Or one from the sheriff's office that they're retiring.
Yeah, I can speak to that. Elizabeth hit it on the head. We can't catch them.
What up trail cameras that are Bluetooth? Send them a violation. They don't show up, go to Randy and issue a warrant.
The problem with the trail cams is that these e-motos, that's what they're called, they are not, there's no license. There's no license that, because like an automobile has a license, you see that, you get a pic of that, you can then send a citation, or you can go follow and visit. We don't have that with them. Now, we have done a lot of details using Harley motorcycles and things like that. These things are coming on and off our trail system at sidewalks, at backyard entrances, and this would be a tool for us to be able to follow them and actually find them. We are encountering, and this is not just McHenry County Conservation District, we are encountering nationwide an onslaught of these vehicles out there, these e-motos that can go 60 miles an hour, and they're causing a dangerous situation for our trail users. And we have put out details, we've stopped them, the word knock them down, is basically a situation where you get in control of them and try to stop them. And we're just, we're looking for that tool to take it to the next level, which is to be able to actually go where they are much more effectively.
If the sheriff's got a bike that they're gonna retire out, buy theirs.
The silence. The noise, I think, would be a factor, is that correct? Not only the quality of life for those enjoying the open areas and you're not hearing that, but also too, that be a little bit more stealthy.
That's the other thing, is that they are quiet. They see us coming with larger vehicles and with larger motorcycles, etc. And we're hoping to be able to get closer to them so that we can actually not have them get away from us. It is a tool for that thing, and that's why we're looking at it.
And if there's ways to look at, we always are open to working collaboratively with the sheriff's office. We have a very good shared mutual agreement with others around the county. So, when there's opportunities, yes, we jump on that. But this is something different because it is unique that we've identified an opportunity to, John, you said it very well.
But at the same time, fine, you got somebody breaking the law, who cares about keeping it pristine and quiet for somebody else? Go get the scum bucket and throw them in jail. Problem solved.
Well, except they can hear you coming on a regular motorcycle.
Eventually, society will get the idea, maybe we shouldn't be doing that.
Well, tell that to the kids in my neighborhood who are on the trail behind their house every single day that it's nice weather out. because the Crystal Lake Police Department has been there, I don't know, dozens of times, and they're not horrible kids. I know I would have done the exact same thing. That trail is behind their house. They're flying on it every day. I mean, they're having little drag strip races.
It is what it is.
Bikes.
And I do think, Carl, it's like, and the noise is not just for catching the people, but as Joe said, the trail's right behind other people's houses. If you're patrolling it with a motor vehicle, it's a disturbance to them. I don't disagree with Carl in something about the cameras, and is there any potential for making anybody on the trails have to be registered and have a plate, like a boat registration of some sort?
Yeah, that would be a legislative change. That would take place in Springfield.
Okay, it's not something you could say, these are our trails, you need to be registered.
Because we've had funding through grants through, so access, et cetera, so a little bit.
Okay,
We can only enforce the laws that are out there.
yep, I get it, okay.
Municipalities have no problem saying, hey, you want to drive a golf cart on our streets or on the trails, come get a license, we inspect it, here's your permit for the year, and we'll see you next year. They're doing that in all the community, where I'm from, Johnsburg, the golf cart capital of the area, you get a license plate from the village and you're registered, away you go.
I don't know if we need to add another layer of bureaucracy in this.
Well, they're complaining that they can't catch them. Well, you put a trail camera, see that sticker or the person, and
Well, but I think Elizabeth said it, when they get different funding from different places, they have to be open. And the village, you can only be on the village streets with those. So, I mean, there's just a little bit of a different program. Carolyn?
Right, and I wouldn't really characterize it as complaining. I think what they're trying to do is solve a problem. And it's not like their officers don't use motorcycles. They work with our sheriff's department all the time with that fleet. They have motorcycles. This is obviously something that's used for a different purpose. Look at, I just pulled it up. Seems to me like size is an issue too, maneuverability. You're not going to get that in some of these larger gas-powered motorcycles. And getting somebody to register with a plate. Somebody's doing something that they shouldn't be doing. They're not going to turn around and register their vehicle. I mean, they're doing it because they want to get away with doing something. So we have to be willing to use what tools are available that make sense for the places that they're in. This is not, not wanting to work with motorcycles. It's a different tool. So we just have to keep that in mind.
Paul?
So the motorcycle, is it more like a bicycle where you're gonna put on the back of your pickup truck and go to different sites? Or are you leaving the district,
It would be that. It would be something that would be trailered to a location and then, or in the back of a pickup and then unloaded and used.
So you can use it at multiple places throughout the day, in theory?
Because we have bicycle officers as well that go out, that regular pedal like everyone else. I mean, they go out and they do that, but obviously there's some new activity that's taking place as well.
Sure. It's a chance for you to get around that site pretty quickly and then off to the next site, is that
Correct.
what it works?
And, bikes have evolved and we 10 years ago, we realized our policy was not up to date on what was happening out there with the e-bikes. E-bikes were evolving. We took the next step. We put in, the right policies. We put in the right protocols and procedures. And all of a sudden now we're facing things called one wheels, these electric powered unicycles, these electric powered scooters that can go 60 miles an hour. I mean, it's just amazing what is showing up out there on these trails. We're just starting to see it. It is coming, I did a presentation 5 years ago or 4 years ago on these things, and I looked at the videos of these things and I said, oh my gosh, we have got to start amping up for this. And in fact, Cary has, the village of Cary has pulled a consortium of individuals together, fire departments, police departments, the park districts, conservation district together. We met about 3 months ago, and they're formulating a policy, a practice, things like that, to be able to get a hold of and control these things, as Joe was alluding to before. It's like they're coming from all angles. They're driving all kinds of different every e-powered device out there. It's amazing. I saw this, one of the things that stunned me was this unicycle that I don't think the Conservation District has a piece of property that it couldn't go on. Maybe, unless it was water, because the thing would have gone right, it was going right up hills, it was going across marshes, and, you know, we're not able to keep up with those. We got the policies in place. Now we need the tools, I think, is the next step to do this. Now, to your point about registering them, I would encourage the county to reach out to the legislators to say, look, give your police department the tools, the laws, to go ahead and really start enforcing these e-motos. However that looks, I don't know, but I know every state, after I did that presentation, I got called by the legislature from South Dakota and New Jersey asking me for my information. What was it? Because they were trying to get their hands around this thing. It's growing and growing and growing, and I believe this is a tool to help us with the next phase of this.
And I believe the McHenry County Council of Government, it's on the legislative and it's on their list as well, as it will as in the state with our advocacies for the Illinois Association of Park Districts and that too.
And then just follow up.
Good, good.
Is that just for one bike is 16,000?
Yes, it is.
Yes, that's one.
And does it look like a bike or does it look like a motorcycle?
Looks more like a motorcycle.
It does.
Bike,
Okay.
motorcycle, it's kind of a different type
Yeah.
of, I mean,
It's a cross or a hybrid in between
it
the
is,
two of them
yeah.
or something?
It looks like a small off-road motorcycle.
I would just wrap it if I could and remind everybody that it was budgeted in the budget because we identified a grant to purchase it, right? And so when they didn't get the grant, we didn't purchase it. Got rolled into this budget, again, looking for a funding source. If they can't find one, those are probably some good ideas. Is there a way to, retain a used one?
Thank you. Jim, did you have something?
I don't have any problem with the motorcycle side. You could also use drones and all that to catch these guys. They fly these drones over anybody's property basically, but you guys could police it that way. If you guys are done with the motorcycle, I'd like to move on to something else.
Go ahead.
Your abatement, you did the last 2 years?
yes.
Do you intend to continue that abatement? Or now that the debt is paid off, you're not gonna continue that abatement? You're gonna start using that for your maintenance?
That was why we went for proposition, was to have operating capacity to take care of our infrastructure that needs, and we have a list of things that.
You won't take it the third year though, right? The
We won't.
abatement? You won't put the abatement in for the third
That's a
year?
decision that
Because
the
don't
board.
you usually have to use it the third year, the abatement? You lose the ability to do that.
So this has been abated from the debt service, right? So that wouldn't affect the debt service.
It won't affect that? Okay.
But the debt's paid off, so there's nothing to abate as you go to the 16 levy of this year. And we won't do an abatement, and what you'll see is the total district tax levy go down by 40% with the 26 levy.
Okay. Another thing, because I saw you had like the Coon Creek project in there. And several, and I don't know about Coon Creek, several of your properties have drainage district easements along the creek banks. Do you honor those easements? So for they get in there and clean out the creek and everything when they have blockages that are flooding upstream?
Yep, we work with drainage districts.
You do honor those,
Neighbors as well.
so that easement could be used by drainage districts, correct? Because that's what they're there for.
Yep, we clean out the ditches associated with those drainage districts.
Okay, because, the Coon Creek with that developments all going on over there on 90 and in the future developments, that access to those creeks, to move that flood water coming through there could be disastrous if we don't honor those.
We had to restore that for a grant associated with the purchase of that land. So that's why we're doing the restoration, but all the drainage districts the drainage ditches are staying in place, the tiles are staying in place.
Right. Okay,
And
so.
we maintain those, we've cleaned out the ditches.
I read in there about to actually help some of the flooding situation and all that. So
Yeah,
I'm
it'll
assuming
reduce
that'll
the-
work.
Reduce
And
it.
It'll It'll reduce the runoff curve numbers associated with that change from agriculture to restored prairie. So there'll be less water going into those ditches.
And some of my, which I am assuming you guys maintain all those tile outlets that come into the creeks and that, so maybe the easement's not so important. But not just Coon Creek. I know several drainage districts that they're not active right now, but at some point they will reactivate. That 30-foot easement on each side of that creek to me is going to be very important for them. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. The issues on the properties, the buildings on the properties, I see you're addressing some of them in that. There can't possibly be enough funds to ever maintain all those buildings. What is the plan on prioritizing removal of the buildings? Is there a plan?
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, we've been taking them down every year. We take a few more down. The 20 to 40 plan is going to prioritize, kind of where does that sit? Because the costs only go forward greater, if you don't get them down today, what they're going to cost to take down tomorrow. So yeah, that's a real issue for us, and that's why we need the additional capacity so we can make a commitment. And so that's what we're going to be prioritizing with the community, board decision, staff decision, right? And that plan's going to kind of share what we're going to do first and build that framework.
Maybe some of the fire districts would want to burn parcels.
What we worked on, sometimes they can. Unfortunately, sometimes they can't. But again, if there's an opportunity to work collaboratively, we look
To
at
save you
those
some money.
opportunities. We're always looking for a way to save money.
Have you thought of going to the college for the industrial part that we've put in there to teach them skills? Grab some of them folks that are going into the construction and have them demo the buildings for you as a practical way to gain, experience and knowledge on how to do it. They're going to the college. Here's a real life application.
Working with the
The schools up in the northern part of the county, in Johnsburg area and Spring Grove, have the kids going to Case and whatnot in Wakanda that are teaching them how to run the heavy equipment. There's a project for them. Or like Mr. Kern says, burn them down and clean them up with the kids learning how to run the backhoe and the front end loader.
Great ideas. We consider that of options. I mean, we want to work with we've worked with universities and colleges. There may be some areas to tap into. Certain areas there's risk management that, we have to follow that too. But we're always open to, what's most efficient, what's most effective, how do we do that? So.
Anyone else? Okay, well, pardon?
Need a motion to approve?
Yeah, that's next here, coming up. Are you gonna have a presentation at the committee of the whole too?
Usually we have not. That is really, it's really gonna be up. I mean, at this point, this is recorded. We did it once. I think we'll be available to answer any questions that anyone has. I would also, if there are questions by any board member in advance, I'm more than happy to answer those questions.
Are you doing a presentation at the finance committee? No? Okay.
That's scheduled.
Oh, come on, there's some years I listened to this 2 or 3 times.
Do you want to listen to more? Would you like?
Okay.
It's recorded.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah,
I'm happy
okay.
to do whatever at your pleasure.
No, it just seems like I remember that, but I might have it wrong. Carl? Yeah.
2 quick more questions. One, I can't find it now, but you had a whole section of at least a half a dozen. Hey, we're replacing the furniture. We're replacing the furniture. And then I see here with your vehicles, they're just getting broken in. Why? You can save some money there. What's the need to replace the furniture? We've had the county chairs here since the building's been built, and they're still working pretty damn good.
We should go on it. I would invite you. Let's go on a tour someday.
And I also notice a lot of lawn keeping equipment. Transportation just bought a whole bunch of stuff, work collaboratively and get their old. They're just gonna auction it off. And they have a good staff of maintenance. You guys got a good staff of maintenance. Save and quit buying new.
Well, I will credit to our team. We have stretched and stretched and have gotten to where we've gone way beyond a useful life to where then you need to have a replacement schedule. But if it does not need to be replaced, we will keep it into action. But at some point, the cost of repair to replace is more not economical. So you have to, but we do look through that. But I would welcome anyone to come visit. We are very, we've got the same tables and chairs at our Brookdale administrative offices that we had when I started 19 years ago, and I'm sure, and John can speak, how long were they there before I got there?
When we opened the center, they were original.
I mean,
So 25 years ago.
so we're not all about the flash, we're about the functionality, but at some point there are things that need to be replaced, but I hear what you're saying, it's really important, and we work till certain vehicles, they need to be able to go, and the cost at the point they're due to come up to be replaced.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, Jim?
Last thing, I don't want to really talk about that, but sometimes, Carl, when you take older equipment, the maintenance costs more than actually buying that equipment new. And so that's one reason they update the equipment. They get a lot of hours of use on that equipment. Transportation, we have the same thing. I don't know if I saw it. I know you're paying off the debt this year is the last year of it. You're not planning on issuing any new bonds or anything to buy property?
That is not the intent. There was some, I think, information that was incorrectly shared that we got corrected, that because we went under a rating review, which was required as a special district with the county, and there is no intent. Our goal is, that's why we passed the proposition, was to be able to give us the operating capacity to take care. And as we shared, all of our ability to do that capital comes out of the general fund. We don't have other sources of other revenues, so we have to capture it there.
That's that question, because you guys would be the better ones to answer that question than somebody shooting it out on our floor as a what-if type deal. And I thought you'd be the ones to answer that.
Scott, did you have something you wanted to?
Yeah, just to add on to that, the reason why Moody's did the re-rating or took a look at the Conservation District is because Moody's changed their methodology and how they do special purpose government. And because of that, they're working down the list. McHenry County Conservation District happened to be on their list, and they were subject to that review for the rating. Because the county is a component, because the Conservation District is a component of the county, specifically because you adopt their budget, we were pulled into that re-rating as well. But as that story ended, both the Conservation District and the county received AAA ratings, so that's something to celebrate. But that's the only reason why the Conservation District was under that microscope, was because Moody's changed its methodology.
Right. I wanted to ask that because I wanted to hear that because one of the members made that comment last month, and I was rather they tell us than that member tell us that.
Okay, anyone else? Go ahead, Paul.
Maybe for Andy. Do you see, in the next couple of years, what is a challenge, financial or to the budget? Do you see anything, whether it's going to be a great,
Well, if you asked me that prior to the referendum passing, there's a lot of challenges. It was going to require really a major structural change in the district to take care of all the repairs and replacements that we put off. So with the referendum being approved and us being able to capture that now with the 26 levy and again with a 40% tax reduction, that sets the district up fairly well. I'll qualify that saying that, this current budget has $1 million deficit in it, right? So 1 million of that 3.6 patches the hole from the deficit. We've been living out of reserves. We know that we need to spend about $1 million a year at least to cover the repair and replacement. So, anything additional would be to deal with major infrastructure, trail improvements, things like that. If it gets to be where we can't take the levy increase or a significant part of it, if you do that for 3 or 4 or 5 years, it's going to set us right back to how we got into the position we're in today. So very quickly, you would see that gain that we made through referendum basically just disappear as health insurance and all those costs continue to escalate, just like the county's dealing with.
And again, conservation, as we work from year to year and make those critical decisions, we also have to ensure that the areas remain healthy because future costs and what we do. And I mean, again, our way of being effective managers and being responsible stewards, not only for conservation lands, but for taxpayer dollars, is core. I mean, so that's not going to change. I think we have a good history of how we take care of the funds. But we do know that you need to invest in long-term if we're going to ensure that individuals here in the county have groundwater to drink that's clean, and that this is a place that you want to visit and enjoy, and that we're all reaping the benefits from. So that's our mission. That's why 2071, we hope that the vision of the county is that these places are like they are today, if not better and happy.
And I guess it could be a lot more. I mean, you have, how many volunteers that come out? A couple
400 plus.
400?
I mean, that leveraging of that resource
It's huge.
is amazing. What they do with seed collection, native seed collection, I mean, just all the areas of stewardship. Yeah, that's not shown in the financial in-kind that the community gives back, right?
Yeah.
Or the partnerships that we leverage by working collaboratively. You don't see that in the numbers. You're just seeing the actual direct input.
What's up, Carolyn?
Well, I would just add that we sometimes just look at the cost and we don't, and we talk about the trails and the clean water, but we kind of forget about those compounding effects on the economy and quality of life and property values and all those things. I mean, businesses come here because people want to live here, and there's just we're part of that whole process. And, you know, we know that our tourism industry has been phenomenal in the last several years in terms of the money that's been brought in, and the district is a huge, huge part of that. So we have to keep in mind, like the return on investment, I'd like to say, that we put in. It's not just an expenditure, it's an investment.
Okay, everybody good? Any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, thank you very much. Thank you, Andy. Pardon?
Don't have to pass the resolution.
Oh, we're not.
We can, but they don't have to sit through that discussion.
Thank you so much. Not where we were
And the rest of the
going.
board members, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And now we will move on to a resolution. Could I have a motion, 61A, a resolution authorizing ordinance number 26-1066 of the Conservation District for the 27 fiscal budget year. So moved by Carolyn, seconded by Paul. Okay, any further discussion? Paul is the liaison to this conservation group. Do you have any further comments or conversation you would like to put out?
Just for the past year that I've been with them, I mean, they're good folks. They really do care about what they're doing. They are conscious about their spending. It's just been a pleasure for the past year to be able to work with these folks, and I think they're on the right path.
Great input.
So,
And that's just good to hear, and I'm glad you're there doing that for us. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else before we go to vote? Okay, we'll vote. Jim?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Carl?
Yeah.
Larry, yes. Okay, we'll move on to 6.2, McHenry County Schools Environmental Education Programs, or further known as MCSEEP.
Good morning. My name is Hannah. This is Abby here. We are the directors of the McHenry County Schools Environmental Education Program. I was actually going to stand. I might
It
switch
sounds,
that.
MCSEEP sounds like a McDonald's with a water problem in the basement.
I missed that one.
Sounds like a McDonald's with a water problem.
Oh my gosh, we say that all the time. I honestly do, because Larry Fisher, who I mentored under, mentioned that to the students. So I took that and I
It wasn't a new joke, huh?
I do use it.
The material's old.
So Abby and I took over the directorship this past September. Pamela King stepped down, and so far we're having a blast. So here we go. We are about to celebrate our 40th anniversary next summer. So the program started with I don't know if everybody's familiar, the program started with one woman's mission to get recycling education into the schools so that the children could bring it home, influence their family, educate their family. benefit for all. And our mission is to inspire awareness to empower action. So we work directly with the schools to bring in environmental education from preschool all the way to 8th grade. Every year is a different topic, a different lesson with a different focus. We start in kindergarten with recycling. We play a recycling relay where they have to organize the recyclable materials, and we sing songs and we have puppets. First grade, we talk about trees, and we start to bring in natural resources, the things that we absolutely need to survive, and how we use them in our daily life. We talk about soil in 2nd grade. Actually, I have a slide for this. Really quick before I move on though, these are cute little, for 2nd grade, make compost jars for each class to study throughout the remainder of the year and just remind them of our wonderful visit. And then on the left there, we have a little girl who is making paper with one of our educators. That's our 1st grade lesson. We start in preschool with the biggest, most exciting one is we bring in earthworms for the kids to play with. Each student gets a paper plate, and if it's summer, dig up from our gardens and our yards some earthworms, which we return, any that haven't been ripped apart. If it's winter, we do purchase them, and I mean, it's immediately impactful. Like, a lot of these students have never touched a worm, they're grossed out by it. And our belief system is that educating and just showing them these elements of nature are what instill the adults that will then go to the conservation district areas and volunteer and just take care of our environment.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but you said educators. How many educators do you got? Do they, like, the same group go from one school to the next school to the next school kind of thing?
Yeah, we are a team of 4 right now. Abby and I've stepped away from being in the classroom. I have been with the program for 8 years, Abby for 1.5 years. We have 2 retired teachers, in addition to us, who you probably may know, Gigi Carlson and Leslie Krebs. So we're a team of 4. So we work with the schools. If it's a large school and we're doing every grade, all 4 of us might possibly be there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I don't know how much everybody knows, so interject at any time with questions.
And to add with our lessons, each of our lessons, you know, as Hannah's saying, each grade incorporates some different topic, usually relating in some way to what the classrooms are already talking about. And so as we progress with each grade, we see maybe more challenging topics, or more topics that are really well thought out, like our watershed models that we do with 6th grade and our groundwater models we do with 3rd grade. We start to actually think about it in our county, how we interact with the county. And so this is something that's really great about our program, is that we're able to, each grade, find a way to share a safe space for these kids to have their own feelings, their own opinions, everything like that, while allowing them to learn about how everything's interconnected. Because really, each grade, we try to go back to the past years, because a lot of these kids see us year after year. And when those kids see us in 3rd grade, we go back to the soil from 2nd grade. We go back to the trees from 1st grade. And so we're constantly trying to create that safe space for children to learn about their outside environment that you'd see in McHenry County.
Yeah, well, each grade definitely builds upon the last grade. And so compost is in 2nd grade. 3rd grade, we use our groundwater models from the Illinois Groundwater Association. And I mean, we get right to the point. We study where the water treatment facility is from the school that we're teaching. You know, the nearest one, if the kids can't name it, but a lot of times they actually can. And we talk about stormwater drains, all of our groundwater management, all of our facilities. We move into energy for 4th grade. We talk about the natural resources we use for energy consumption. Luckily, we have some of the large school arrays. We always bring that into the classroom when the school is over by Huntley. Biodiversity is our 5th grade topic, how we are all interconnected. The health of your ecosystems around us is the health of you and your water, and how it's all interconnected. Middle school, we do watersheds in 6th grade, so we have an amazing enviroscape. It's like a little mini town. We contaminate, we talk about, animal waste. A lot of the stuff that you guys were talking about with the conservation district, we're going in there, we're teaching it. Like these kids, you could see it on their face. I mean, it's so fun. When you have a special presenter, I think personally, it really cements that memory in your brain. And like hands-on learning is hard for teachers to accommodate and provide for their students all the time. So we come in, it's all exciting. You see us walking down the hallway. Like she said, everybody kind of knows us. I've been called worm lady, ecosystem lady, bug lady. That's okay, I love it. Climate disruption is our 7th grade topic. There is a new bill that has passed effective next school year. Bill 4895 is that schools in Illinois must address climate change. Teachers need to be educated on the subject. They need to be given, the students need to be given actionable steps that they can take to mitigate their personal carbon footprint and climate impact. So that's something when we do our climate disruption, we break it down into what did you eat for breakfast? What's the carbon footprint of that? We compare a banana and a pound of bacon, the carbon emissions equivalent, and how you washed your hands. How did you dry them? I always bring up, do you guys remember the paper or the fabric towel that came out? Yeah, they used their paper towels. And I think they're so fancy, but we had, back in the day, cloth towels that were never dry. And then middle school ends with our green careers. We bring in MCC, we just kind of explain the options, all the paths that they have laid out in front of them, whether it's a university or MCC, certificates that you can get right out of the bat, start building a resume.
Are you doing this like during a recess time period or a science class, or how's that built into their curriculum?
So in middle schools, it is the science core period, so we're in the same classroom all day. In the elementary schools, we will send them sign-up sheets. Some schools want us to fill out the time slots, and then the teachers can just sign up as they see. I've never had the students miss a recess to see us, so they'll work us into their day. Reading time or science time. So we'll schedule up to 5 lessons a day. They're anywhere from the kindergarten through 2nd grade is 40 minutes. Above that, it's 50 minutes. In middle school, it's the bell schedule, which is usually about 43 minutes. And every school works very differently, I'm realizing, since we took over in September. So we accommodate them. I want to make it as easy as possible for the teachers.
Paul, did you have something?
Is it like you guys rotate from school to school to school, or do you take a couple weeks off?
We are not as consistent as it used to be. So when I started 8 years ago, there was somebody working 40 hours a week, every day, all day. And then I was part-time, so I would work 2 or 3 days in addition to that.
Inside the school?
Correct.
And
fully inside the school.
If you're not in the school, you're in your office?
So as the director, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, let's clarify one thing. There's us two, we're currently in Pam's role where we will work and will be a co-director. That is not the same as the educator position. So the educators, they are in the schools, that's all they're doing. So they'll get the supplies. We have a storage locker where we have all of our supplies stored. They'll pick up the supplies and then they will go to the schools that they signed up for. So each school that we're creating these forms, we're creating as the co-directors, we're creating education sign-up forms. And then the educators, depending on their schedules, can decide if they want to take that school and work at that school for that day. So it's very flexible when it comes to when our educators are working, because Most of us, we're working part-time when it comes to that. We're not working full-time every week. And so just depending on our lives, our schedules, I might take it 3 days this week, and then next week I'm not taking any as an educator. And so that's where it kind of separates. When we're thinking about co-director, Hannah and I are talking to the schools, getting the program set up, making sure that the programs are following the development levels, thinking about the climate change bill. We're also thinking about creating forms, reaching out to the teachers, having them fill out the forms, and then making sure that the educators are covering each of those sessions.
So it ebbs, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
On this climate change bill, does what you're currently doing qualify that there won't have to be any additional added?
Correct, yes.
So you cover it with what you're existing, so you won't be, or they won't be coming if this is like an unfunded, or will they be able to provide any additional funding to you? The state?
That's a great question. We are definitely looking into that. There are appropriations, whether or not we qualify.
They probably don't have any funding.
I'll keep trying. You know, so to reach back around to that, we were full-time, now it ebbs and flows. So there are some weeks where we are in a school. Correct. Definitely there will be a week where we are not in any school. But there will be weeks where we're in, 4 different schools, 4 teachers teaching full-time. So it's really like the availability that they have.
Do you have where we can go and see your syllabus or course, schedule or your material that you're putting out there to the students?
Yes and
Whatever you like to call it.
We have a website on the county that lists it broadly, like the topic per grade. I could provide that for you, but it's kind of somewhat protected information. If we just put it out easily for the public to access, they might not need us, right? So these are curriculum that we've developed.
But we could provide the slides
We
if
could
you're looking
provide
to see
it.
them. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I like this slide.
Abby wasn't.
That it moves.
Yeah, right? I was like, is it too kiddish? I don't know, but that's what we're.
That's what we do.
we're
That's why I like
doing. Right? Me too. I'm right there with you.
Any other questions about the lessons or the topics?
Yeah.
Are you okay with that, Carl? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you do any, I know Valley View and McHenry, they have like a nature preserve in the back corner there. So some of these schools, do they provide you some?
Ta-da!
There you go.
So we definitely do extracurriculars. On the left here, this is a garden that was at North Elementary. It has actually been removed this past year to put in a concrete slab for an outdoor classroom. I was personally managing that because that is where my children went to school, and they graduated out of it. I went to a couple meetings. They pretty much forced me out. But yes, we definitely work in outdoor areas. Getting the lessons that we provide to line up with outdoor classrooms that are existing has proven to be somewhat complicated. Some teachers don't want to bring the kids out there due to, wrangling the kids out there. The weather, and then we're 45 minutes and 50-minute slots, so what teachers want to go out and what don't. So I haven't had a fully outside successful day, but that's not to say it can't happen in the future.
And Hannah, can I add, with our slideshows, typically we go through the topic with the kids with our slideshows, and we usually have some sort of activity that adds on to it. So with the soil, we're making those compost jars. So we'll go through kind of how soil works. And then once we get done talking about how soil works, then we'll go and we'll do the compost jar with the kids, and they'll get to actually interact. Same goes with our groundwater model. When we do slideshows with our groundwater model, We go all through the water cycle, how we're connecting, where we get our water from, and we kind of talk about the resource. And then at the end, we get to explore the groundwater model with the kids, and they get to actually interact with it. So we do a lot with our slides. And again, if you would like, we can submit any slides that you request. But with outside space, we actually go to Valley View Elementary School, and that's where I went as a child, which is really fun. So I get to go in there, I think this month, and work with the kids, but I'm working in the school with them. We do have opportunities to work outside a lot with preschools especially. We do a lot of outside time with them, but then as Hannah was saying, there's opportunities where we can possibly work outside more frequently, which would be really nice.
It would, if we're gonna talk about it, let's go out there,
Yeah,
right?
they can identify different plants, they can
Yeah.
help plant plants.
Yeah.
They can,
Yes.
It would be
you know,
great.
Some of the mental health, when you say the safe space, it's like, okay, school gets boring a little bit, especially hyperactive kids.
Get them outside.
Another, yeah, and
You're
another
running
reason to have
around.
a special presenter, right? We're going into their space, right? This is where they spend a lot of their time, if not most of their time. So for us to meet them there and provide, we bring in wagons full of, we have all the models, the scientific models, but also, we're throwing around a globe for water to talk about like saltwater versus freshwater accessibility and surface water. We make bracelets for water cycles as well, just so they can talk about all the different stages of the water cycle. So it is really exciting. I mean, the kids eat it up. So there's outdoor areas. We're organizing recycling. Well, it's organized, it's implemented at Ringwood Primary for recycling plastic film and plastic bags through the Trex Recycling Challenge. Just to reiterate, like the extracurriculars. So we work, every school again is different. Like sometimes we work with the administrative assistant, sometimes we work with the principal. At Ringwood Primary, the principal was like, she really wants to put a bench in the outdoor area, but funding, of course, is always an issue. So I said, hey, Trex offers, if you can recycle, I think it's 40,000 pounds or something, they will give you a bench. So we help just facilitate, there's so many angles and avenues that any school could take in environmental education that we're kind of like the ringleader. We can see what works best for your school, what would be easy to implement, and then actually help you implement this. And this is all on top of just our amazing lessons. So that was connecting to touch on the conservation district. We put slides at the end of our Google slideshows to say things that are happening in the neighborhoods that they live in. Birthday events, all that. Volunteer, we've pushed volunteer, like really starting in 5th grade with biodiversity. We're touching on the invasive species. So how can you do that? This can be a very heavy topic for especially younger children, but giving those action steps like the bill states is huge. So let them go home. We like to say, what can you do today? What's one thing you can do today? Turn off the water while you're brushing your teeth. Go walk your yard, look up what an invasive species is. We talk about buckthorn and honeysuckle. Go out there, check it out. Walk your land, see if you have any. Can you chop it down? Take action, right? I think, do you guys have any questions about the climate bill 4895? It's
Already asked.
Oh, okay. We're really excited about that. So numbers have been down. We had kind of a double whammy with COVID hitting. We also lost our director within that first year of COVID. So a lot of teachers obviously shifting their focus, but also moving around. So our numbers are way down, which actually brings me to, let's skip that one for a second. Our numbers were way down, but since we've taken over and the climate bill passed and I informed the schools, we've seen an uptick instantly. We had 4 or 5 schools sign up in the first 2 weeks after the email was sent out. So that's really exciting, very promising. I reached out to the regional superintendent, Anna Hartman, so we're gonna work together too to just expose and educate anybody that missed us or doesn't know about us in the community to get those numbers back up and to help implement the bill they passed.
And I think a big goal of ours that we've discussed since taking on the directorship is we would love to be in as many schools as possible in McHenry County. We have seen since January schools that we haven't been in for years, or brand new schools, I believe, that want us to come in since Hannah has been reaching out and emailing them. So ideally, we would love to be in as many schools as possible and be able to serve students from all over the county.
My goal is every kid, every school. So this year it was, and this is the calendar year, not the school year. We were in 423 classrooms, 8 school districts, just over 9,000 students in 24 schools. So
I have another question about that. So with this bill, and if it's required by the schools to do this, and they use you
yes.
to do this, and fulfills their requirement, you possibly have enough people to do this?
If we find that we don't, I will find.
Well,
We have, yeah.
does that leave a funding source for you with the school districts? Do they kick in any money for you guys?
Yes.
They do?
Yes.
So yeah, let's discuss where the money comes from. So
Yeah,
that
that's
it
where
helps-
I'm coming
Helps
from.
kind of explain with our educators what we would do if we had more schools.
So we charge the schools. Every school district and every town is different. So we are charging $35 this year. It did go up $5 from last year. That's each individual classroom session. There's leeway. We do get assistance from municipalities and like a small handful, 3 villages. Crystal Lake, the waste haulers help fund half of the fees. The village of Johnsburg and the city of Woodstock, or the city of Woodstock. That is my goal over the summer, is to get more like private funding. We do apply for grants, but we are a fairly small program, and a lot of grant money wants to go to buying materials. We have a hard time finding it for like services. But it's definitely on our radar. The Community Foundation just opened their grant session, so we work towards that.
And yeah, so considering the $35 per session, that's covering our educator fees. So when the educators are going into the classroom, that is what the school is paying for. They're paying for that and possibly supplies that would be needed in the classroom. But that is where those fees go to. They don't go to us as co-directors. And so that's where the county comes in and where we're getting paid when we're co-directors and talking about that. But fully funded through the schools, and sometimes, very rarely, we do have donors that are willing to give money that we have to utilize for helping funding some schools that might have trouble with the fees.
Yes.
As long as we're talking about money, Adam, do you want to step in and sort of explain our part of it right now?
Yeah, so the
Thank
county's
you.
contribution comes through the tipping fees from the waste management collection facility on Virginia. And that allotment was pretty consistent at about 19,000 for about a decade. And then at around 2021 is when it increased to 22,950. And so that allotment comes in from, like I said, from waste management, and the county has allocated it to the MCSEEP program for our own benefit as well. So it's kind of, it checks a big box in terms of education and community outreach for our NPDES permit that's required of any county and municipality for that matter. But the county's NPDES permit for the IEPA has an educational component that is scored. Without it, you do fail. But with it, You can still fail, but and that's where our stormwater management ordinance comes into play and some of our other practices and implementation procedures for development and environmental protections like groundwater and talking about drainage districts, et cetera.
And we just moved that forward last month or month before or something?
Correct. That's what spawned this discussion is the MCSEEP program is familiar. It goes up and comes in and gets approved every year, kind of without discussion. So I think this is probably long overdue to invite MCSEEP.
That's how that come about.
Yeah, I apologize.
We did this last month.
Yeah.
But is there a possible way, like, we have these solar farms, and they're looking for help. They're looking to help communities and different things. Could we kind of put some suggestions for them to start funding this? The education, you would think that they would want to be all over this.
We certainly can pose it, right? I mean, we
some of these
lost
guys
some
can
leverage, right?
kick out a lot of dough.
Yeah, we saw it before. We saw it before the state law was passed in 2023. We
Right.
saw some of those community improvements, environmental improvement offers, and what can we do?
I mean, we're not trying to, let's put it this way, because of the state law, we're not trying to require it, but we're trying to suggest it. That, hey, we have these organizations, certain ones, that maybe you could help with, which this is what they're all about, climate change, environment. Your solar
My
farm is
developer
supposed to
head
be
says the
helping.
worst they can say is no. So-
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, these guys throw $40,000, $50,000 around like it's nothing to some of these areas that they're, they're looking for organizations to give money to.
Can you
Go ahead, Carolyn.
Can you repeat the numbers? So it was 19,000 up until when?
Yeah.
Or just generally?
Yeah, generally, it was 19,000.
Something.
Yeah,
Okay.
950 for a long period of time, and then it did increase to 22,950.
And that was in when, 21?
I want to say it was about 2021.
Okay, that's fine. I was just curious.
I know why that happened.
Yeah.
No, when COVID happened,
Yeah.
literally everybody went home and cleaned their garage out. The waste transfer station nearly full. They could not keep up with what was coming in on garbage day. They really had trouble with it because everybody cleaned their garage at the same
Good or
time.
bad? It's interesting.
Wow.
That does make sense. A lot of home,
They were running trucks.
a lot of home improvement projects were going on.
Just couldn't get the place emptied out.
Yeah, that makes sense then. Yeah, because it's a volumetric. Yeah, we're grateful, I guess, for that. Everyone win another cycle. Everyone
Garage is
wins.
clean.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
That was pretty much the gist of it. This is the school year, just schedule, actions that we're taking. We did a teacher's night out at the Green Reed in Crystal Lake. That was before Abby and I took over. Just to welcome teachers outside of the classroom to, hands-on interact with our models and see what we offer. Abby and I took over, the bill was passed. We posted out to individual schools and had a huge upswing. Another really exciting thing I'm really excited about is we are teaming up with the Smithsonian Science Education Center to pilot a water they do global guides that, there are about 5 global guides in, and it's a...
Yeah, they're guides that educators, schools can utilize, and they're free. You can find them on their website, but they have these different guides depending on different topics that allow for different tasks to be done in classrooms. And so it just is another resource for teachers. And so we're actually in the pilot testing for the water guide that they're working on. So we can't say much more than that because we did sign a confidentiality agreement, but we're helping assist with that and helping so that hopefully this will impact not just educators around here, but educators all around.
And the students, that one we're working with an after-school club so that we can do it free of charge to the school.
Okay,
And did we want to touch on the groundwater festival? I don't think we touched on that.
We can.
So typically what MCSEEP is pretty well known for is the groundwater festival. And we collaborate with Soil and Water,
the Soil and Water Conservation District, Scott Kuykendall, the Water Resource Specialist for the county. The conservation, the MCCD as well?
We're looking into that. I know that we've reached out to them to kind of see if there's any way that we can collaborate in the future with them on that as well. They are right. And so we're talking right now about that, and we did decide to put it on hold this year just because Hannah and I have had our hands full trying to learn everything that Pam had done before she had left, and just making sure that we're working on our school numbers. So Groundwater Festival, hopefully we'll get it running.
We think
maybe
fall is
next
the best
year.
time, and it would just seem too big of a bite to take out for this fall, but next fall, it will happen.
Good. Sounds good, ladies. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll leave that up there so we can all read it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Okay. That was, let's see here, 6263, Planning and Development Fee Schedule. Let's see, do we have no attachments?
No attachments. No, this is, it came in as a discussion direction. Scott and I is giving Scott a brief on it a couple weeks ago. And I think the discussion and direction would have just been changed to an update, or has changed to an update at this point. We were poised to bring it forward in April. We all know budget was a big focus, starting, man, it's almost budget time again. May of last year when we first really looked at what will change this year compared to the previous years, right? And revenue was a focus, and P&D's fee schedule was one that was outdated by 10 years, so it hasn't been updated since 2015. At that point, it was a big overhaul. It was a per square foot model that we had in place for several years. The committee gave us pretty clear direction that we wanted to make it easier, clearer for applicants to kind of understand what they're getting into when it came to fees, make it a little bit more simplified, and kind of graduate those that are more complicated and ones that are pretty straightforward, and kind of separate those two. We're looking to kind of take that same plan forward, but one, bring it up to date with our current salaries. We have 10 years of growth, and within there's been a focus on retention, and so our salaries have increased as a staff across the county and within P&D, and we recognize that. So catching up there. That said, our revenue models, as we look at them, there are projections every year are about $700,000. Our salaries, are budgeted at 1.5, so we're about half in terms of subsidization. Our revenue models, one of the things that we'll present to you all next month will be, based on what has happened over the last 5 years in terms of permit volume, and what each of the different, we're going to present 2 different fee structures, what those look like in compared to what the last 5 years. So just to give you a little bit of projection, and those 2 different structures. One is an update of, updating our salaries, staff, how we actually do practice right now. And we've had some big changes, in addition to, all the different reasons we talked about that 2015 and being outdated, we've also gone from paper to digital. And so there's, doesn't change the total amount of hours, it just shifts them along that project timeline. So there's a little bit of front end work, there's the same in the middle, and then there's a little bit of closeout work that, it's just different. But the hours we've gone through basically each task and accumulated kind of an average set of hours, minutes, etc. So we're going to show you those models. That's the first model, is just covering those kind of average costs. The second one is more intense. The way we looked at that is, here's our current salary, and then here's our top end for our grades. So if everybody is in the top portion of their grade within their position, this is what that dollar amount would cost. Just to give you all a feel of what a permit would cost in that sense. when we did the budget presentation, I talked about a third model that would cover that $1.5 million. That drove deck permits up to like $700 and houses up, everything was really, really high. I think 700 was even low. I think it was in the thousands for like our smallest deck permit, which is currently at $250 or $300. So, so it got a little obnoxious, I guess, for lack of a better term. So the two that we have that we're going to bring forward really are can be supported by the practices. So just wanted to throw that out there, and if there were any questions or any focus on some of the elements that I brought up right now.
Good, Paul.
Yeah, I know we talked about it a couple meetings ago, but there is tiers, you had talked about just your group helping out people just coming in and understanding the permit process, right? Mm-hmm. Going through it for the first time. Some of us go through it, weekly, right?
Okay.
You don't have to hold our hands for that.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the types of folks that are kind of taking a lot of your team time.
Yeah.
And I know you were saying at different tiers, like if it was a hospital or something, your permit fees can go way up.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of time that you and your team's gotta put in.
Yeah.
So is there something like that where you're hand holding, you wanna help the community out, but you're also spending a lot of your resources on the deck permit?
Yeah, I couldn't have, best 20 bucks I ever gave you to set me up like that. So that is exactly what we found when we were looking at the hours going into our operation. Is there was zoning was the best example. We have pre-application meetings, sometimes 2 or 3 of them with staff from every division. So there's 4 people in that meeting from 4 divisions, maybe their manager as well. We don't want to turn away the novice. We don't want to force everybody to go get an engineer, an architect, or to bring in a contractor to do something that maybe they can take on themselves, right? And so, where do those costs go? For the small permits, some of those are going to end up continue being subsidized by maybe the larger ones. But in zoning, that's where we really see the most hours that are just unaccounted for. Compliance is another big one, and compliance is an education point, to a T. Educating people that, hey, you need a permit, and then how do you get a permit, and then how do you close this thing out once you actually have it. So yes, those are the hours that we're trying to not only incorporate into this fee structure, but also be cognizant of that. We don't want to raise them so high to cover these costs so that we end up with compliance cases because it's too big of a deterrent to come in and do it. So that's on staff. That really is. It's controlling those conversations, making your education, making your statements effective enough so that people can turn around and do something with it. Yeah. And so, our method on that is to say it. If you don't understand what I'm saying right now, I'll send you a follow-up email. And so we don't, if we're missing the point, like, hey, you're not gonna learn from me telling you, maybe you learn better if we write it down. That'll at least help. And then we steer them towards a consultant if it seems appropriate.
Sure, because they want you to be the consultant.
They would love us to do it. Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Walk me through this.
We can't write it and grade it though.
Yeah, even like how-to video, right? Might be a thing of, hey, this is how you go about getting for a deck, for a home, for a driveway.
So a shameless plug, but an effective connection on that. I've been talking to as many school contacts and as many trades folks as I can to highlight a project in Ridgefield Estates, just north of Ridgefield, across from RP Lumber. Habitat for Humanity bought 10 lots out there. They're going to be doing 2 houses starting here in the short term, 2 more towards the end of summer, and then 6 next year. They're all 3 and 4 single family residences, trades, it's habitat, so people can volunteer. We've given them, I think, $225,000 in the last CDHG, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember the number, but yeah.
Yeah, we've given them the funds, for this project, to at least a component of it. And they've reciprocated an offer to, come out, come see it. And so we've been promoting it, at the college, trying to get people to see it, and those how-to videos that'd be a very good backdrop for something like that. Cool.
Yeah. Sometimes that's all they need is just a little, how to.
So which parcels is that? Is that Steve Mueller's whole project or?
Yes, yep.
Cul-de-sac.
Yeah, he had 6, another gentleman had 4, and then they sold them all to Habitat.
Passed away last year.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Okay,
I know
anything else?
that doesn't,
Go ahead.
I know that doesn't help out, you're still only self-funding 50%, we'll call it, 700,000 to 1.5 million. But, I guess we'll find out next month. But
Yeah,
how do you get to that?
Well, there's two sides to it. I mean, yes, you want the guys to apply for a permit, but you also want to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So there is a reason why some of it should be our cost to keep our information available.
Sure, I agree with that. It's just, there's a lot of, you see a lot of your staff just their days being chewed up by education, You're really not getting paid to educate, but you also want to help people out,
Sure, yeah.
It's just a way, how can you be more effective?
Yeah.
YouTube.
YouTube,
Yeah.
We could fill our county YouTube page with a lot of YouTubes.
Yeah.
The last permit I got went pretty good, and the staff member that you had, he had a predefined list that I need this, I need this, I need this, when it come back to me. And I was able to fulfill that, redraw some plans, put some extra notes on it. Second time I went through, and I thought it was pretty efficient.
You guys have done a much better job of that. I mean, I can remember 30 years ago coming in front of zoning matter, and we'd get the zoning stuff ready, and they'd come through, and then they would tell them they need a septic permit. And you're like, seriously, you couldn't tell them that at the beginning,
Oh, yeah, that's why I said that example I just did, because 30 years ago
was
you come
crazy.
back, and you come back, and then the next person at the counter tells you something different. So Adam and Dennis before him have done a good job of getting some things squared away there, so we appreciate that.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll look forward to that next week.
Yeah, me too.
Next month, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna move on to the discussion and erection of the tree ordinance.
Right.
And do we have that on, we don't have a.
So this one, there's no attachment on this either. We've Alex Wall Alex Wall has really been putting the pen to paper on this, and pulling some, doing a lot of research and pulling, really 2 comparative documents. To give you, the overview, last month, we were asked to bring back, what would it look like if the county did a tree ordinance? What would it look like? And then our question back, really, while we're talking about this is, what does the board want? Which way what problem do we want to solve? What do we want to highlight? What do we want to feature? So when we look at tree ordinances, there's 2 examples. The municipalities have a very functional one. They have a different set of regulations though. So we can look at McHenry, we can look at Lakewood, we can look at those different ordinances, but we really need to look at comparables. So Alex found 2, Kane County and Lake County. Kane County, theirs is kind of mirrors a municipal ordinance where it really sets to regulate, it regulates commercial operations, conditional uses, and the ones you would think. But then it also goes into residential at different tiers, anything, I'm gonna screw this up because I'm dyslexic, over 2 acres?
Correct, yeah.
Yes. Correct. So there's, you can set your size, and then anything under an acre or under a quarter acre, there was a where you put 1 tree on, or you cut a tree down, you can't always you can't put 2 on always. So the smaller lots may have some exemptions, and that's not. It's one of the reasons maybe why we didn't bring here's this ordinance, because that's not what we wanted to set out to define. We wanted to maybe have this discussion at a higher level so we could find out where the board's thoughts might be in terms of what is the motivation, what's behind that tree ordinance. So is it for shade and energy efficiencies and reducing heat island effect? Or is it for like shoreline stabilization, groundwater protection, and air purification, all those different aspects that trees present as well. Or is it a third item? Is it beautification and preservation of things like oaks, which we have identified in our 2050 plan. And MCCD has done a lot of work on oak surveys and kind of showing how those oak savannas have evolved from X years ago to today. So the tree preservation ordinance and the concept isn't foreign to the county. But it has come up, and it came up most recently through the Zoning Board of Appeals. And that's really where this momentum came from. It was associated with solar farms. So when I was asked to come and have a conversation with the ZBA, and would the tree ordinance have an ability to, if the ZBA so chose, would it have the ability to make a recommendation or be the leverage to deny something if they are clear cutting 10 acres of whatever trees, let alone oaks or anything like that. And it was deemed no, that through the State's Attorney's Office, that again, it's any ordinance that has the effect of denying one of these. So not that it missed that mark, but the concept is still out there. So we wanted to bring that to you all. So Kane County's was that. They're looking at those specific trees. Lake County, their ordinance was adopted. Kane County's was not. Lake County's was adopted. They look at their tree ordinance as a resource, as a natural resource review. So if you have akin to like a wetland or a pond or something along those lines. So when you have a parcel and you're gonna develop anything, whether it's single family residence or conditional use, they're gonna look at what the existing percentage of that lot is for woodlands. So, and then specific trees, if it's oaks or hickories or something along those lines, or other protected types of trees that they had. And then they set out a maximum level of disturbance. And what that is it goes into an equation for overall site capacity. So if you trim 30% of your trees, I see you smiling, if you trim those trees, is there an offset or is that set your capacity? So to bring the whole conversation, when we're looking at it is that's reasonable. That's a way that the county could look at it. It was adopted in Lake County, and that's the way McHenry County could look at those things. One of the other reasons why we didn't bring an ordinance forward either is we're still waiting on state's attorney's review. So Kane County's was not adopted. They're looking at, state's attorney's looking at why. Why? Because there was some discussion as to the state's attorney couldn't sign off on it. Lake County's was adopted, but as we understand it, confirmed or override if I'm not accurate here, I don't think it's been tested. It's accepted, it's been in place, I think, for about a year and a half.
That's correct.
Year and a half. So we want to make sure that, one, we have legal authority to do it. So, and I think the crux of the whole question is land use versus property rights. Okay? Is this tree going to be the basis of a denial? Or can I cut it down and do what I need to do? So that's what we've been looking at. Alex, anything you want to contribute?
Yes, we've primarily been looking at Kane counties. That's what you see on the screen here. And we've been trying to work through kind of what is the overarching purpose to protect heritage trees. I believe that was sort of the basis of it, protecting not just small trees or shrubs, for example, but these large oaks that was brought up in discussion as well as the purpose of protecting large oak trees, for example. But Adam was talking about there's also notable exemptions to protect, single-family residential lots, under 2 acres, for example. But there's also a fee in lieu component as well, in case it's not feasible to be able to replace every tree on a development, for example. They can pay a fee in lieu. So we're still looking at a fee structure that's not restrictive or it makes sense, right? But so far I've been working with the planning department as well as the conservation district as well to review the Kane County ordinance, and we're continuing that process today. So.
Yeah, go ahead, Carl.
Do we have a tree problem that we need an ordinance for? And
We have a lot
the
of-
second part of that, I'll just throw it out, I kinda see where it's going. And if we have some entity that, wants a conditional use permit that's good for 40 years, they can come back and ask to have that extended. You and I ain't gonna be around, we're gonna be in the ground. Okay, why? You know,
You're not in the ground in 4 years.
A lot longer than
There's benefits, right? I mean, there's, our stormwater management ordinance, and as we review all of our ordinances, our stormwater management ordinance is probably the closest that touches on tree regulations, at least on the planning and development side. And then in our zoning division, as mentioned, we highlighted, we talk about it with our 2050 plan. There's benefits. Do we have a problem? I don't think we have a problem, but there's benefits that are available for, with development, with trees and tree preservation associated with development. And so that's really what motivates the conversation across the board in the industry.
Okay, Paul.
we talk about, this pre-permitting, right, for commercial especially. We're looking for economic development. That turns people off if they're already having, before they put a shovel in the ground, with the stormwater detention that we talked about, for the underground detention, that could be $1 million just for underground detention. And then they gotta cut down 200 trees, and that's gonna cost them another $500,000. They'll just pick up and go over to Kane County or, somewhere else. So, although I'm for, this conversation, it's how many times do we have to, beat people. We're trying to bring people in here, and we kind of, as we're doing that, we're beating people up or giving them options to go elsewhere than here. And, it's counterproductive, right? We're putting a lot of time into this economic development and Marengo and things of that nature, and this could deter people. But the other thing on the tree preservation is it up to the homeowner or the property owner do they need an arborist to go out and take a look at the species, and then if there was an oak but it's dead, I mean, where does all this lay out?
Right, well, dead trees or dying trees would not be involved or, a part of the ordinance. It would be for healthy trees, healthy trees. I believe there's a checklist to ensure that, this tree is healthy, that a certified arborist would have to take a look at.
On whose dollar?
The applicant, that's what we mostly see as the applicant would pay for that service as well.
Yeah, that's just another fee.
It's an interpretation, but would there be something built in that would be you could ask for a variance on this kind of thing? Just like you'd ask for a stormwater variance or something for when you're doing the planning? I mean,
Yeah, we would incorporate this under the Unified Development Ordinance, and it wouldn't fall under a use, it would fall under a standard. So yeah, you could seek any variation from a standard.
Yeah. So you could work your way around it, well, with the permission of the board, I guess you'd say, or, yeah, okay. Carolyn, did you have something?
Yeah, so to get to the question of the value of the trees and being up or down or whatever. So with stormwater, it does come in with stormwater, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it comes in with stormwater because you take mass removal of trees, you've now altered the hydrology. So it becomes an issue beyond just whether or not you're keeping the tree up, right?
Yeah, as I mentioned, there's a lot of benefits. There's not a problem. There's a lot of benefits for trees in general. I mean, it's ground stabilization, everything with that, groundwater filtration. Yes, and the concept I recognize too is that if you're cutting those trees down, that you're probably improving it in some manner or another. So you're probably altering it even further. So, but yes, I recognize both.
So to continue, then and we talked about part of the reason, because it was really coming from ZBA because of the thing that they were finding, and that is that as these solar projects want to be placed, they're finding anywhere to put them. In some places, if they're heavily forested, it's really not a good place to put solar panels, but if there's no protections for those trees, then we have to say, okay, yeah, go right ahead and do that. And I think that in terms of model, I would actually prefer, focusing more on the Lake County model, because I don't think it's nearly as intensive, which is not what, because this seems to be modeling more, like you said, the municipal, where I think you're getting more, intricate in terms of what you're doing, whereas I think the Lake County model, and we could be altering it, because to your point, you want to have that flexibility for a variance or whatever, if depending on the situation on the property, right? And so there are places that are heavily wooded with just junk trees. I mean, it's not a given that a piece of property with trees on it is going to be this huge expense, because they're probably not even going to qualify. So it really is a protection of those old oak grove heritage trees and high conservation at a certain size even, right? Or, and maybe there's instances where it can't be, you can't make that accommodation, so maybe there's a fee in lieu of, or something like that to help reforest somewhere else. So anyway, it's not meant to be like overly punitive or restrictive, but we are finding, it is coming from the fact that we're now taking these farms and putting them into more and more places that aren't really suitable for solar farms. And what kind of protections can we put in place up front? And I don't know what that looks like, and maybe it doesn't look like anything, but I mean, I think it's worth looking at, and I appreciate the effort.
And where do we go with the farmers and what they can do or not do
with their land,
with their property? So, just a minute, Jim, I think Paul had a little extra, or no?
I was just going maybe off what Carolyn's saying is, so it's just basically gonna be the oaks, the hickories, the heritage trees. It's not really the maple, just things, fast-growing trees, just trees in general. I've had property where I've cleared, they were all garbage, but nothing would grow, but I would have washout. And once I cleared the canopy, it actually was better for the ground, for things to grow and things, stabilization, stuff like that. But yeah, if it's just we'll call it a woods of just not important, I don't want to say not important trees. I don't want to say just
Junk trees.
junk trees.
Some are, and
such a
some are
thing,
kind of like
I
that.
don't know.
Some are the junk trees, and some are the medium types
Yeah.
that are really
Where
good.
does that start and stop? Because I mean, if you're gonna just do oaks and hickories and everything else
I
can be
still
thrown
think
away.
You're gonna have a very difficult time telling a farmer who owns 200 acres that he can't clear the hedgerow.
Right, I mean, they're doing it all over the county right now just to get that extra 10 feet.
And that's going to be the real key to this, is how we're going to enforce it or not, and whether it's going to be usable, I guess would be my term for it. But
Would we work with conservation if we did have to plant trees that wouldn't fit on that property? Would they go potentially into the conservation?
yeah, let's not get into that deep right now.
Bring
I mean, it's not a bad idea.
Sure.
Go ahead, Jim, you have something?
Well, what drove the beginning of this was your question about the ZBA's question about whether or not we could protect these oaks. State's attorneys come back and said, can't do anything about it. They can cut everything down if they want to, because it's the state's BS stupid, just like they're gonna wanna pass thing on fire pits to regulate, which I hope we don't do that, And so my point is, but wait, my point is why even do this at this point? Because the reason you wanted to do it is no longer there. And I agree, if somebody wants to go in and clear out I have a different name for them, but junk trees and that, by all means, clean them out. But I don't know if someone wants to build a house on a house on a 5-acre parcel, and there happens to be an oak tree where in the middle of the only place on that lot they could build a house. I don't know if we want to regulate that, if they cut that tree down or not. I don't understand where we're going here with this. I mean, I see conservation and all that, I'm okay with that. As of the stormwater, the Army Corps of Engineers is gonna have a whole lot to say about those trees that are cleared, and even the junk trees, they don't want them to cut down, remove the roots on the creeks, right? I mean, our eastern part of the Army Corps of Engineers, part of the state, the western part of the state, Army Corps of Engineers wants the roots and everything out when they cut them. And, but the eastern part doesn't want you to cut them down. An example of that is if you go to Marengo, along the Kishwaukee River off of 23, it's all garbage trees. And if you look at the old pictures of Marengo, there wasn't a tree out there. They were all pasture land. And there wasn't a tree out there, and there's invasive species. You ought to be able to go out and clear them out if you want to. And to regulate that, but the Army Corps won't let you do that. But if we start regulating some of this stuff, it just, to me, creates, to Paul's comment, it creates a whole lot of interference that we have no business being in the middle of it. And that's my pitch.
And we have nothing compared to what they just proposed at the State of the Union speech. Anything that's owned residential that's over 2,500 square feet can add another house.
Absolutely, and that's the point. They want to take away all your zoning, and as long as we keep electing these morons that do this,
Just
they're gonna do it.
That 5-acre parcel that you have, it's
Yeah.
good for 80 homes.
Exactly. And my God, this is so freaking ridiculous what the state is doing. Why do we need to be involved in that when they say you can't regulate it anyway? Go to all solar farms everywhere. Conservation district ought to be full of solar farms because of all of the what do they call it, the flowers and everything that they're supposed to plant underneath them, which I haven't seen under a single one of them because they're all mowed. and so my point is why isn't the state requiring it to go on a conservation district? Because that's the next thing they're going to do, and it's stupid. And as long as we keep, I'm sorry to go on a rant over this, but as long as we keep starting to over-regulate ourselves, you know, so we're gonna start it here when the state doesn't make a difference with the state. As long as we keep electing people that wanna do this zoning stuff and these fire pits and fine you $100,000 because you didn't file a application with the county for a fire pit. You know, that's not, I don't think that'll ever go through, but we didn't think a lot of these things would go through. These are just stupid. And I don't want us to get into over-regulation here and stuff like this. I can see some sort of a thing, but I'll never support one that's a blanket. It's gotta be, there's gotta be some common sense in it.
It's definitely gonna be hard to regulate. I guess I sort of agree with you, Jim, in that it was part of the solar farms that instigated the whole idea of preserving the trees because of the property they were taking over and the trees that they were clearing. This isn't gonna solve that problem, obviously. The state's just not gonna let us do it. So what is the committee's feeling about the direction we're gonna go on this? Keep asking staff to spend time on it?
I let it rest.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
My opinion too.
Let it rest.
I don't see that, I don't disagree that if it could actually be used on the solar farm issue, I'd be happy to do that. I don't see that. I haven't, unless that statute's changed, you don't have any authority to do anything about that area anyway. So you're trying to solve a problem that the state won't let you solve. And in the meantime, you're creating problems for every landowner in McHenry County. I'm not willing to do that.
Don't disagree with you. You know, and for the solar part of it, it's almost an ask. It's not anything we can enforce. So, Carolyn,
Well, I just,
what's your rebuttal?
it's, first of all, I think there's some things that are being said, and I understand the frustration, okay? But we're not talking about, you know, you can't take down the buckthorn, or we're oversimplifying what's being asked and making it more broad than I think the intent is. And so, if, you know, if you wanted to, you could exempt 5 acres or less, or 10 acres or less, or if it's in a farm field and it's a row, you know, whatever, in terms of crop, and it's an economic thing, then there's a variance, and there's things that you can put into that. You have things on the back end on these solar farms that don't prohibit them, but then they have to abide by the stormwater or management ordinance, right? And we have wetland mitigations, absolutely, that have to be done on projects, right? How did that get into play? It doesn't stop the project from happening. It provides guidelines on the back end for how they're implemented. So, and in this idea about, you know, we can't tell property owners what to do, I agree with that, but there's also property owners who have come in and said, I want a solar farm, and we get people who say, no, we're gonna vote no, because we don't like solar farms, even though they met all the criteria. So we can talk about property rights, right? But then we should be consistent about it. And it's not meant to take away those rights. It's simply, you know, I think part of the reason I came in with Lake County, if I'm not mistaken, was because Mr. T or something came in and wiped out all these trees because he came in and took a particular property and wiped them all out. And it was thought, okay, wait a second, if you're gonna buy property, maybe that property ought to be reasonable for the use that you're going to use it for. So don't come in with a, you know, solar farm on a wooded property. Okay, but this is all on the back end, and I guess, I know we can't regulate it on the front end. It's more of a, how do we mitigate that on the back end? And if you guys want, if the goal here is to table it, we haven't really looked at how Lake County has implemented them. We're looking at one that never passed, which I appreciate because we have to look at everything. But you're going to say something
Correct.
else.
Well, I mean, I can look into, we have been looking at Kane counties more, but we can also pivot to look at, you know, Lake counties again and review that again too. So.
Which I appreciate if the idea is to allow you to do that. So, and I recognize what people are trying to say here, but I don't want to oversimplify the restrictions that were, or the intent of this. And so, so I know I've said my stuff.
No, that's okay, good. And if I missed it, I apologize, but I have not seen either Kane or Lake County's ordinance, because that's something that I can get, pardon?
We can send those out to you so you can take a look.
I'd like to read both of those before I really can comment much further on where we could take this. That's for me. I don't know anybody else, but did you have something else, Paul? Or you?
No, I'm good.
So could we start there, getting that out?
Sure.
And then maybe a discussion at next month's meeting, and everybody will have a little better set in their mind on the direction. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
would caution on one thing. The Kane County is, if I'm not mistaken, because I've not read the whole thing, is long. It's very long and it's complicated, and I think it's in that regard, in terms of what we're trying to do, I think it's a little bit of a scary document. They didn't even pass it. I'm not sure. I would look through it, absolutely, but.
Well, I'd like to review it so I can know what they didn't pass.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so what
But just
was
keep that in mind, because it's.
what was the negative aspects? What aren't we gonna like about
Yeah,
it?
right.
Kind of thing. And just give me a little better idea. And then just bring it back for next month for discussion and direction, if that's okay. And maybe everybody will be a little firmer in their minds. You don't have to firm yours up anymore, John. But is that okay with you guys to do that, get those out to us so we can read them and let it set for a month, and it might be a lot shorter discussion next month. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I was saying, when you look at these ordinances, first off, Kane County, with a grain of salt, they have a very mixed review on their board too. So there's I would even encourage you, maybe reach out to your colleagues in Kane County and kind of get a sense of their thoughts and discussion, because it's both sides on support and opposition. But also look at the trigger points, right? What invokes the regulations, and that's really where it comes down to trying to find that balance. What are the trigger points that invokes the regulation? Is there another approach, such as like more of an incentive-based system that can be put in place? So those are just some concepts to keep in mind as you review, and we'll look forward to next month's discussion.
Okay, and have we reached out to the Farm Bureau at all on this? I mean,
You know, the roundtable discussion that we had was extensive internally, And one of the first exemptions that we identified would be agricultural operations,
Okay.
akin to stormwater's exemptions, but yeah, we recognize that there's going to be some. So we didn't define those. We didn't know which model ordinance we would even have conceptually dove into. But we can, I mean, in this time period, we certainly can to see what their thoughts are.
I would see what their thoughts are, their point of view. It's going to be a big concern for them. And even if they catch wind of us talking about it, they're going to be thinking we're doing something that they don't know about, so they should be brought into the circle right away, so that there's no misunderstanding that we haven't done anything yet. So.
And that reinforced, that was one of the cautions about even putting on, the work that Alex has put together so that McHenry County's tree ordinance isn't floating down in Will County, and hey, that never got passed either. So we wanted to make sure it was kind of led with more of the conceptual, but recognizing that we need to get more information.
And we're not, I don't know if we're at the point where we need to contact them, but it seems better than after the fact.
Sure. Yeah, I recognize what you're saying.
That's good with the committee. We're gonna get the other two ordinance to us and we'll check them out and do this again next month.
All right.
Right?
Yep.
Makes sense.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Thank you.
I move to approve 7.1. There's only one item on the consent agenda, so I assume we're not gonna worry about taking it off.
Second. Okay, 7.1, routine consent agenda, ordinance creating a film and video production permit policy, moved by Mr. Gadamaz, seconded by Carl. Okay, discussion regarding the ordinance. Scott's been in the middle of this from the start. Go ahead, Scott.
So actually, Alex has been with me in the middle of this from the start. In fact, he's been more in the middle. You had seen this, we've been talking about this for, about, I want to say 8 or 9 months now. Really, the intent of a film ordinance is really to, first off, be encouraging to the film industry to want to do productions in McHenry County. There's a qualitative and economic benefit. We've seen that from Groundhog Day again and again and again. We're getting a lot of mileage off of a major production. And the intent is, we have a lot, I think, to offer, and we want to make sure that if somebody wants to do another major motion picture or a small picture, whatever, there's a benefit. That's a good thing. But we also know that there's an impact on public resources, impact on private property, on residents. And so the intent is to try to be encouraging and accommodating to this industry and this good thing, but provide some guardrails around, impacts on public service and disruption to the properties. So this was put together. We had lots of discussion before this committee on what this could look like. And then if you recall, when the state's attorney had reviewed it, they made a recommendation to say that the framework of this should be embedded in the UDO because it does deal with land use. And that's kind of where everything stopped. And so this takes us to about fall of last year when the state's attorney and county administration were trying to work through what that would look like. And, the recommendation was put everything in a UDO. That way you can go through a public process, you can have a public hearing, you can have the due process provided to everybody, you have the framework established. The application and the permitting would still happen administratively, but just the ground rules would be, amended to the UDO. And we try to work through that. The other side that county administration was looking at is similar to a liquor license. A liquor license is something that, although it takes place within property, it is something that happens administratively. It's something that's separate apart from the confines of a UDO. And that's kind of where we left it. I had a conversation with Lars Scary, Chief of Civil, just briefly, and said, we really want to kind of move forward. And they still hold to their position. They still hold to their recommendation to be a UDO, but they also say it's a recommendation, and it's something that the county board can choose to take or not take. What we are proposing in front of you is to say, to have this put in place as an administrative process, not tied to the UDO. This would be a component of the Code of Ordinances. It'll be something that's regulated administratively. With that, I think that we're going to present it to you to go that route and put something in place. We don't have any productions banging down the door just yet, but the intent is to let's have the framework in place in the event that we do have somebody knocking on it.
Oh, you got something?
Yeah, I was one of the ones that campaigned for making it administrative. I don't want a 4-month process for a company to decide whether they're going to film a commercial here, because they're not going to. They're not going to spend the time and effort to do that. I agree with Groundhog Day is a great example of it. We've been doing it every year in Woodstock now for a long time, and I don't know what the total value of the community has been for that for the last 25 years, but it's been a lot. And I would hate to see that go to a neighboring county over a permitting process. And that's why I think it's important that it's administrative. It's not a permanent use of the property. It's going to be a temporary use of the property for the time period of filming, and then they go back to the studios and do the work. So that's what I would like to see, and I'm happy to see it got this far.
Go ahead, Paul.
Are you good with the general restrictions? I know you brought up,
I don't care what we have here.
nighttime filming.
Well, you have to, like I say, if they're doing inside stuff, it's most of the time it's at night, because that's when they can control what's happening through the windows and the light.
So it'll be just on a case-by-case basis.
Good to see it.
And that goes in front of, it just says the county administrator.
So yeah, because of the administrative control, we have some latitude to as you say, case-by-case basis. The other thing too is, since this is not, as proposed, would not be tied to the UDO, you have a lot more flexibility as a county board to make changes. If it's tied to the UDO, if you wanted to make a tweak to that framework, which is embedded in the UDO, now you have to have the whole public hearing for the UDO, and you have to have that whole process to make a change, whereas this is your ordinance and gives you a little bit more flexibility on that end. So if something needs to be adjusted or needs to be tweaked, it's I think a much more simple process for it.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything in here, and I'm trying to go through it, Scott, that appeal the county administrator's decision and what direction that would go if that was the case?
Yeah, not something specific. I guess that if you want, we can certainly add in. This is going to be part of 30-day review as an ordinance. So you're not going to adopt, you can make a recommendation to move it forward. It'll be on 30-day review, and if you would like to see something added into an appeal of the decision, you can do that. We can add it. Alex, is there anything specific in there? I don't recall anything in there on the application.
No, I'm not seeing anything. But it seems like there ought to be something. Somebody would look at this and say you're the god of the filming industry in McHenry County because you got the yay or nay on it.
Yes.
And I think that there ought to be some type of an appeal. They either appeal to the county board, appeal to PED, whatever.
Yeah. No, and I think that's fair. Certainly understanding the intent of this, but you always want to make sure that there is that accountability and appeal. If you would like, we can then draft up an amendment to this that would include an appeal of the county administrator's decision. I would recommend to this committee, right?
I would be comfortable. Yeah. It seems like that would be the logical thing to do.
At the ZBA level, if they appeal Adam Wallen's decision, it goes to the ZBA. I don't know if you want to mix those two things, but that would be the only other way. Well, not even pre-permit. Let's say it's only happened once or twice that I can think of.
Yeah.
They make a decision that administratively X happens. And if you don't agree with that decision, you can appeal to the ZBA. It doesn't go beyond the ZBA. It stops there. And so that would be the same kind of thing. I suppose you could do it. I don't know the legal structure of taking it to this board, to this committee or whatever, but that would be a fast way to do it.
Oh, it's your ordinance. You can power. We have just like certain decisions get
Well, I
appealed
know
to
there's
finance.
there's certain stormwater decisions and we act as a stormwater committee. I just don't know if there's a structure for it, that's all. Whatever, I'd ask the state's attorney to tell us.
Ellen, you got,
Just real quickly, on the notification of neighbors, just kind of looking at this real quick. It's a quarter mile, fine, I have no problem with that. But it does say within 24 hours of approval. So I don't know what 24 hours is because one of these is certified mail. And I don't know that, do you mean by the, because that's not necessarily going to get to them in 24 hours. Even by certified mail. So either you're hand delivering them or what, but I would just look at that paragraph and make sure it's actually doable.
Yes. So this would be the outreach of the production company to the neighbors first. That would have to happen prior to, I think, that approval.
So they don't have to receive it, no, so each separate film production within, okay, wait. They must notify all owners of record and occupants of all property within 1/4 mile in all directions from the property within 24 hours of approval. So are you saying that within 24 hours, they have had to have sent out a certified email or certified mail, or do they have to receive it within 24 hours of approval?
I think it maybe would say prior, 24 hours prior to approval. Prior to submitting.
Well, once it's approved, I understand that once it's approved, you want to let people know, right? But I think you need to clarify, they need to receive that notification within 24 hours.
So, yeah, I think you're right, because it starts off saying, once the application permit has been approved. So the approval's already taken place.
Yeah, whatever you're doing
And then
here.
the notification, so no, I appreciate that clarification. We'll say within 24 hours after approval.
So you're notifying,
And certified mail would not be a viable option because you're not going to receive that within 24 hours.
well, if they're already, so is the notification just to let them, to the point, are you doing it beforehand to let them have time to say something? But if it's already permitted because of our rules, then it's more of a courtesy thing?
And that's the way it's written, more of that courtesy.
So it should be a certain amount of time before production starts, as opposed to after approval.
Well, if you're saying if they can get, what's the typical start time after approval?
I don't know, but
It's fast. When
I
they
bet
decide
it's
to move,
fast,
it's
so I
fast.
mean, you could end up with them getting notice after it's already started, for one thing. Two, you're not gonna get certified mail in 24 hours.
For 72 hours? Is that more time?
But if you put 24 hours prior to approval, they would, and if they're gonna use certified mail, they know they have to get it out 3 days ahead of time.
But they won't know till that they're approved until they're approved.
You know, we cart before the horse as it's written, so.
Yeah.
You know, and that's.
It's just more about a courtesy thing of letting them know. So I would just, that would be my only concern. I think there's a little bit of clarity that needs to be.
So how about I suggest this? So I think that's important to clarify, and then it's important to include the appeal process. We have a motion and a second on the table. Perhaps maybe we can do a motion to table this to your next meeting. And then we can add in these provisions. We can tweak it.
30-day review, just put it out there and bring it to the board.
Okay.
We've seen it enough times. I don't have any trouble trying to fix dates and deadlines like that.
Okay.
What is under 30-day review for this month to next month?
Yeah, so it'll
So we
be,
could review it at the PED next time.
that's correct. Then we can propose amendments to tweak this.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
Okay?
All right.
A motion to, well, we don't need a motion to
No,
table it.
we're good.
We did the motion already.
So we're gonna move it, we're gonna vote on it. Joe?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes?
Jim?
Yes.
Carl?
Yep.
Paul?
Yes.
Larry will be yes. I don't know how long is Spongy want there? Quick?
This could be actually rather quick. The question before this committee is, for 2 years, we've been doing spongy moth trapping.
Wait a minute.
Oh, no, we're on
We have to
stormwater.
do the solid waste water.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
Jeff, need a break?
Oh, I got excited, he's like, one.
Wait.
Loves.
Okay.
You get so excited
Okay.
over this.
I would sit and listen to no problem.
If everybody's okay without a break, we'll keep right on rolling and get her done then. Okay, solid waste removal franchise agreement. Eddie?
Yeah, so thank you. This involves 469 residences. It's reduced on this cycle because the Crystal Lake Manor, which was previously part of this, has transitioned to the Algonquin Township franchise agreement. So we did complete the competitive bid process, and Flood Brothers is the lowest responsible bidder, which is a new vendor. So I appreciate the additional time because it does give them time to change out the carts. It represents an increase of about 12% from the current one that they have. We did look at all the franchise agreements in the area. It seems to be very consistent with the prices that are out there. And then there is a 4% increase per year of the contract, which is exactly what we've had in every other contract previous to this. We did notify every residence that is impacted by this. We've only received 11 comments. 9 which opposed the optional electronics recycling portion, and 1 supported it. So really, if we are going to move it forward today, I just need direction on if we're going to include that optional electronics or remove it from the option. Because it's not per resident, it's got to be an all or nothing. That's how the pricing structure is done.
Well, there's a very small percentage that was objecting to it.
Yes, I mean, of all of them, we received really 10 comments that had, 1 was just information. So I think the general feeling in the 9 who said they did not want it was that there are other options available, which is absolutely correct. We have a vendor in Crystal Lake that will accept the electronics for recycling 6 days a week. And it would represent an additional cost to every residence. I think it starts at about $7 a quarter, about $30 a year additionally.
Well, there's a small percentage that objected. That's not uncommon because other people just say, go with it, they don't even look. If it was me, I'd say I don't need it. I could find other options, but I don't know what the committee think.
I drop my stuff off at the other place.
But this provides them a place so that people who don't normally do that, I mean, because people also do just throw this stuff out.
Yes.
It's not like everybody's taking it somewhere.
Right, so if the garbage collector finds it in there, they will reject it because, it can't be thrown away with the trash. But it would provide an option for people that would have difficulty going to the outside vendor to get it or to come to a recycling event. There are quite a few throughout the county throughout the year.
I'm fine with it.
We have a central location for electronics.
No, we do not. The county does not, but we do have a vendor that we enter into an agreement with every year through the state of Illinois that accepts it, and that's right in Crystal Lake. It's Elgin Electronics right on Terracotta.
Where I was going with that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You have an area, they collect it, but they have a place to offload it, Here, if we had such a thing, then problem solved. Like Algonquin Township, they have their own recycling. McHenry Township has their own recycle. But if you're in an area that, let them collect it and dump it off if we had it here, and then problem solved.
Yeah, so for the past quite a few years, we've actually done single-day events here at different areas in the county that will be reduced this year because the vendor who does provide that service for us is seeing such a reduced amount of electronics being recycled at these one-day events that they want to concentrate on it being really dropped off at their facility. So we will have probably only 1 or 2 as opposed to 4 this year. But there are options. You're absolutely correct. There are options for people to recycle the electronics fairly easily if they choose to, which they should.
Okay. Anyone else? I mean, my thought is they have other options, so.
Well, you made a good point that there are people who can't physically get that stuff somewhere else either.
Correct.
So, our seniors have a little bit more difficulty getting that stuff in the car and then hauled out, so that's a good point.
How long is the contract again?
It's a 4-year contract.
4 years. It's $7 a quarter.
Yes, so about
So I have this.
$28 a year.
Yeah, do they set it on the side of the?
Yes, they would set it out on the designated days with the solid waste that is picked up, and it would be taken care of by this vendor and taken through the right channels. So really, the overall cost per year is about what it costs someone for really a single monitor or TV to be recycled. That's about the equivalent cost per year.
But for myself, I've thrown the monitor away. It was 3 or 4 years ago when I bought a new one. I'm not gonna throw another one away for, I hope, 5 or 6 years.
That's kind of the comment that we received.
So it doesn't like something you're throwing out every other month.
Right.
That's absolutely correct.
So question for what constitutes an electronic? So is it a coffee maker? Is it a toaster? Is it, I mean, those
Right, so
things
there are
that-
different categories of covered electronic devices, and so there are a variety of them. I think there's 7 different categories. I would tell you traditionally, Elgin Electronics almost takes anything with a cord, because they will disassemble it, recycle the parts that can be recycled, and then take care of the rest. So it's pretty broad. It's pretty broad, but the typical ones, right? Video-related stuff, cameras, telephones, laptops, iPads, all those types of things are all covered.
Do they take cords? Like if you have a bunch of cords and cables?
When we have our one-day electronic events, they typically will. But we let the resident work directly with the vendor, and if they'll take it, but they typically will take almost anything with a cord.
Because I think there's a lot more that we end up using throughout the year that bags of stuff.
Yeah, we get a lot of
So-
questions like that.
Yeah,
Throughout.
yeah. So
So which direction are we going?
I'm fine with it in, but.
What do you recommend?
I do think there are other options out there. I mean, it does really, it's additional cost to the people. We can always continue to work, as you suggested, about how to reach those people who have limited access. But I think generally, you're probably correct. There are sufficient options out there where it's
Keep the
not
cost
necessary.
down.
Yes, and keep the cost down and just go with the core comprehensive services.
And to Caroline's point, if the seniors that can't, they're the ones that are gonna want to keep the cost down.
Absolutely, correct,
So-
absolutely.
As well, right?
Got a direction?
I'm good.
I think you do. Jim
Appreciate
Skipper.
that.
I'm okay with that.
Does this contract have a fuel charge subsidy?
No, there is not. There is no fuel surcharge.
Surcharge, that's what I was looking for. Curious,
Do we
but that's
need
good.
to,
Okay, we good with that then?
Do we need a motion to move it forward, since it's an ordinance?
Go ahead, Scott.
So just a reminder, this was actually, it's an ordinance, it was put on 30-day review last month. Because there was a mix-up, but it's being presented to you now to have your conversation about it. So it will be actually a live ordinance on your upcoming agenda. So keep that in mind.
we need a motion to take that, can you put on the agenda to remove that electronic section? Because I think that's the way we're going.
So I think you may just do an amendment on the floor.
Okay.
Whenever it comes in, would that be appropriate?
We could do that, or I could revise the documents that are attached to it so it represents the actual services that are being offered.
Because the other one was put up.
Oh,
we
then you have to respond.
we have to
Understood.
amend. Otherwise, we're passing what was put up before.
Put the amendment on my desk when we go to do that. Jim, did you want
Well,
something?
wait a second. I have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
Flood is a new vendor for this contract, this particular contract. Have they ever been a vendor on this contract in the past?
No, they are not, but they are one of the larger companies that have a lot of contracts in the area.
And have there been any complaints from the residents in those contracts? Because I know in the past, we've had some people that complained about they didn't like the vendor.
Correct.
They didn't want us to choose that vendor, which I think we still chose, but.
We did check with that, and we did check with a couple that use Flood Brothers, and they had no significant concerns with them. Yes, we did do that.
Okay, we're good. We're good, Patty.
Okay.
Good to go. Yeah, okay.
Spongy Moths.
Spongy Moths, bam.
Thank you.
I got,
Zoning will be quick.
okay, I got 5 minutes and I gotta be out of here.
I got you
I'm gonna be in
over
trouble.
under on,
I got in trouble.
And this is how we're gonna address the oak trees that somebody wants to take down that the ordinance says we can't.
Spongy Moths.
Okay, go ahead, Scott.
Really, I wanted to just have a conversation with the PED committee on whether or not we engage in a 2026 spongy moth trapping program. We've done this for 2 years in a row, tracking the numbers. I provided you the summary from last year, which compares 24 and 25 data. And this is something really it's up to the committee to do. We've been tracking the spongy moths, and really the theory is that when populations explode, eventually they're going to crash. We haven't seen a crash in 2 years. Maybe this is the year. But really, before we dive into the cost and staff time and the nominal cost for the materials, I wanted to make sure that committee wants staff to focus in on this. So this is something that, just to give you some perspective, I would say probably takes, a total of about 8 to 10 days of staff time really to focus in, to give you some scale of it. there's a cost associated with the staff time to do that. Material costs, they come in between $500 to $700 for the traps and the lures. We had the benefit of receiving materials from the Illinois Department of Agriculture last year. We received everything, which is wonderful. We just had to commit the staff time to do it, to set the traps up and to count afterwards. So there's really not much of a cost that goes into it aside from the staff time. But really, before we go into it, we wanted to kind of get your thoughts. We know that some of our state and federal partners have been experiencing budget challenges. Last year, their budgets were truncated. This little spread program was truncated, as I understand it. The budget was limited. I'm not sure what's going to happen this year, whether or not our state and federal partners are going to be as engaged. But this is McHenry County data. We are an infested county, a quarantine county. We're not going to get rid of spongy moths. But what we can do is just determine whether or not there is population ebbs and flows. We're happy to continue that, but we want to make sure the committee is supportive of this before we dive into it.
Quick question. We had that woman, she was from the state 2 or 3 years
Yes.
ago that mentioned it.
Nancy Johnson, yes.
Okay. What about email to them saying, hey, we'd like to, if the residents wanted to, can you send them the trap and then let them take a picture at the end of the year and you guys count it, there's your data, and we'll be happy to facilitate connecting you guys up, but...
So they do limited trapping in McHenry County as it is, right? So these, in addition to the county's numbers, they have their own. They set their own traps up. They have their own partners. I can certainly ask, but my sense is they wouldn't undertake a program of this scale. The residents, I'll tell you, the participants are citizen scientists, as we like to call them, and many of you are citizen scientists, do the counting themselves. So that's really not, that's not a workload, and people really get it. We just deliver the traps.
Take the workload out of your hand.
That's correct.
Let us deal with the state. Hey, you send me the trap, I'll give you the data and email it back to you, and everybody happy.
So, right, but it's getting the traps out, it's coordinating who's going to do the trapping. We've had some participants that, if we're not participating every year, I would probably suggest they just get stricken off the list, because I want to have consistent data over 3 years. So we would probably reduce from the 90 traps deployed to probably maybe a lesser number. So the program is to the point where it's administratively very manageable. We've got a good model, good template for it. But it's just a little time invested. So the state, like I said, they're not willing to take this on beyond what they do. I mean, I could ask that question, but with the state's budgets, it might be a little challenging.
How much does that staff cost?
Depends on the staff, but you have salaried individuals who do it, and, they do this in addition to all the other work that they have to do.
And
So
my feeling on it is, it's a data and a time range. To do it this year and not follow through with it, if we get the same data this year that we got the last 2 years and we don't follow through with next year and the following year, do we really see a range of data that's useful to us? That's if you don't do it over 5 years at least, you're not getting any benefit from it. Just a minute, Jim. Carolyn?
Oh, no, well, I'm just wondering, true, you need the timeline for the data to have more meaning. I feel like there's a couple things at play. One, it's not really changing what we do. We're not spending any money on, treating them. The state has moved on. That front has passed us. They're no longer doing stop the spread because we have them here. If we're not getting consistent people putting out these traps in the same locations, the data becomes a little bit not useful. Well, it's not useful because we it might seem like it's more of an explosion, but we didn't get the data from that area the prior year. I don't see us really using it. I think it's been great to have. I would say it gave us the information we need, and let's move on. I don't know that we need to spend more staff time on it, but that would be mine.
Jim?
And I would agree with exactly what you're saying there, is we're not doing anything with this to begin with, other than curious whether or not that those people who came from over Marengo that had all those oaks that were infested for 2 years in a row. Were they infested as bad the next year? But at this point, it's, you know what, we got budget to make here, and every dollar helps. We just can't spend it, I don't think.
If we had a program that would say, here's how to solve it, I'd be all for it.
Right.
But collecting the data about how fast the trees are dying doesn't help me much.
And it's not how much, it's just where the population hotspots are.
I understand, I get it, but no matter what the population hotspot is, the result is the same, we do nothing.
So, no, it's, no, I would certainly respect
I
it.
think we got a consensus that we're not gonna do it this year.
Yeah, and I think it's good information to have.
So-
Yeah, but
Now
that's
it's-
why I was asking, hey, can we get it from the state and just give it to them and take it out?
But the key takeaway though is, you know, the county, I wouldn't say the county did nothing. You had residents that come up independently and said, county, we have an issue. And you responded. You said, we understand, and you actually put this program in place. So you did do something. You were really responsive to those constituents. I think that's something to be proud of how government would work. And whether or not you engage in a spraying program or anything else, I mean, that was, you know, a part of the conversation. But you looked at it. You know, you responded to those concerns and you addressed those. So be proud of that.
That's where we're at.
All right.
We're gonna move on to zoning.
It's a big zoning.
One.
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 Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, we have a solar farm on Perkins Road. Yeah, it's, oh boy, 100, it's a sizable lot, 155 is what's in my head, so I'm not gonna say it. But I could be off a hair, but that doesn't take up the whole site. It's a
No.
4.99 megawatt. There's a couple of design features, a little farmed wetlands area that they're gonna try to avoid, and then it's kind of shifted back into the right. ZBA did vote 7-0 in recommendation for it. There were some neighbors that appeared, brought up valid points, mostly, you know, kind of routine items, screening. Is probably the biggest piece that the developer, you know, maintain those conversations and will work on screening specifically for those residents. Those are the highlights of that. On solar, we also, you may hear some whispers, you won't hear the ground rumbling just yet, but you'll hear whispers that Deriva, formerly Duke, the Duke petition, that has come back to life. It was always there. It was in a state of purgatory while we waited for PJM's approval, or they waited for PJM's approval for the interconnection. They received a letter from PJM authorizing that connection in January of this past year. So they're starting to get their team together. They came into town and showed kind of what has evolved and what could be transitioning for that overall proposal. The highlights on it is Boone County fell off. That's going to be phase 2. There's still components in Marengo and with that Boone County where the substation was, that substation will be relocating into McHenry County. They have one of 2 sites. One's within the current conditional use area. One's adjacent to the current conditional use area. It won't trigger. You know, we looked at this back in 2023 when this concept initially came about. It won't trigger at, you know, black and white that they have to go back through the process. Because they can actually apply for a separate conditional use. That would be just that component associated under the solar. So we looked at that heavy in 2023 and reviewed it with their request this past month. And it reaffirmed. So you'll see that coming through. If you have any questions on that, feel free now or in the future.
So you're saying that won't trigger
It won't require the whole conditional use to be redone. That's with the stipulation that they would have to get another conditional use specifically for that
But we don't
component.
want that redone. We don't want that redone.
Oh, no, oh my God, that was, yeah.
Right. Right, it's a different set of rules.
So,
Where's the new substation? Would it help? Is there any value in moving it to a new that new location?
I'm gonna have dinner at the end. I have gotta go. I'm just absolutely,
Okay.
gotta go. Carolyn's in charge.
Oh,
right.
okay, all right,
Absolutely.
And I'm
It's
sorry,
closer
Revolution
to,
starts now.
Okay.
it's closer to 23, Joe. It's closer to 23.
Okay.
the contract on the waste,
Okay.
waste thing.
All right.
Okay, thank you,
Did that
everyone.
answer your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it did.
All right,
It did.
have a good one.
Anybody else have a question on that?
Nope.
Okay. So I guess we have to go back and do a motion on the modification on the waste management or franchise agreement.
Okay, I move that we approve the franchise agreement without the electronic section.
Okay,
Second that.
second. For Carl, all those on the votes, Jim?
Yes, I'll vote for that.
Okay. Joe?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
I'm a yes, so yes. All right, we did the zoning, and I think that's it. Anybody else have anything they want to talk, future topics or anything like that? I know we've been at this a while. All right.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Favor?
Thanks, guys.
Moved and second by Carl.
All in favor?
Say yes.
Aye.